You're talking about a guy who, 20, 25 years doing the baseball thing. So I've been ready for baseball since last season ended. I'm ready to rock and roll.
So then I'll toss you a softball. What was your take on Lorain County baseball last year overall?
Well, it was a lot of fun to follow. Unfortunately, with baseball and softball, you never really know what kind of curveball is going to be thrown your way in, well, not just March, but basically all of April. So I feel bad for the coaches because it's hard to schedule games not knowing what you're going to get. So I'm always impressed by what happens in May because I think it's so different. If you're north of the Mason-Dixon line, the challenges that you face are so different than the challenges you face if you're down south. I think the coaches do such a good job of that up here. Having their kids ready and not just, to sit around and practice and make sure that you're ready and you're hot and you're ready to rock and roll when the bell rings. But at the same time, you got to be ready to play like 7 or 8 games over a 3-day stretch sometimes. And, sometimes you've got a pitching staff that's suited to handle that. Sometimes you don't. And it's such a sprint, which is so weird because you and I grew up in an era where baseball was looked at as a marathon. But in baseball, it's not. It's a flat-out sprint because usually you don't get a chance to start that race until you get maybe 3 weeks into April. It's just wild how that works.
Yeah, because of the bad weather conditions early on here in Northeast Ohio, it is a gamble as far as when teams are going to get games in. We were looking at some of the scheduling before we started, and you were like, man, teams are already getting scrimmages lined up and getting games underway this week.
Yeah, and it's good to see that at least for a couple of days here, it looks like Mother Nature's considering cooperating, right? Looks like 60s tomorrow, 60s on Wednesday, and then the R word comes into the equation on Thursday and Friday. So temperatures in the 40s potentially on Saturday and Sunday, and when that works its way into the equation, it's a little bit too tough to predict who might or might not play this weekend. Baseball schedules are so fun to look at because you're excited for the season to start, but then they get redirected about 5 days in.
Yeah. So we'll jump right into things as we're joined by our first guest on the show. It's Bruce Lasicki, head coach of the Elyria Catholic Panthers. Bruce, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Doing well, thank you. Just left practice, actually.
So give us the rundown, man. How is everything looking on the Panther side of things?
No, things are looking good. We lost a couple key players, but we have some good young guys coming through. We've been practicing indoors over at Lost Nation, so we're getting a lot of good reps in with you're just talking about the bad weather and being adjustable, so we're jumping around, moving dates out of there when it's nice out, and thank God they're being real flexible with us. But you're talking about the scrimmages there, and we had a couple scheduled next week, and then with the weather coming up, we bumped them to this week. We are out at Sports Force on Saturday, dodging some snowflakes and cold wind off the lake there, but it's spring baseball in Ohio.
So tell me, who are some of the guys that are returning to the Panther lineup that you're going to lean on heavily this year?
Anthony Hutter was second team All-Ohio last year. He led us then, did real well in the county in hitting, and, he was our leadoff hitter. We have him coming back. Kyle Fairbanks pitched our district semifinal game, a 1-0 game we won. I have him coming back, Christian Bagala. Most of our pitching staff's back. Nathan Segman's going to give us some good innings this year. Jack Hurst, he played some outfield as a sophomore, and we're counting on him as well on the mound. And Sammy Zampataro, another outfielder coming back. So we have some holes to fill, but, we have some nice young talent coming through as well.
Talk about Hutter. I know he's committed to play baseball at the next level, Coach. What kind of player is he?
So, yeah, he's going to Eastern Michigan, Division I. He's been with me, varsity player, since a freshman.
Wow.
And we started him off at second base, but his natural position's outfield, and, he'll be our center fielder this year. He batted almost 500. He always gets on base. He's very fast. I don't know where he got all this extra speed in the last year. He always told me he was fast, but I really noticed it, this year at the practices and stuff. So, but, he'll be my leadoff hitter. You want your best hitter getting up as many times as you can, though. So, but, he's going to, he's going to be a big part of our success this year.
So last year you made it to the district final, fell to Bay, and it seems like that's the expectation for you guys every year to at least make it to that point. And you're one of the programs around here. You guys reload every single year. What's that a product of? Because, there are certain coaches that say, look, sometimes we just have the right guys, the right time, but that doesn't seem to be the case for you guys. You guys always seem to have guys ready to go and waiting in the wings.
And, yeah, we have a good core group of kids coming through. We have our JV program has run well, and, we try having all the kids together with us early when we're practicing the first 3 weeks. I have, all 40 kids with us, so they're learning the program early, and then we branch off. We have just great coaches, on my staff. Al McConney used to coach at Amherst. He brings a lot to the table. Todd Meslak does a lot of the travel ball things. And then Mike Perry was a varsity coach prior to coming here, and then Mark Atkins is another guy to our staff that did a lot of scouting for college and did some college coaching. So a lot of it comes with the guys I have below me.
How has this whole thing changed and evolved for you over the years? Because it just seems like, especially the last 10 years, a lot of the scope has changed. You talked about it earlier, making your best hitter hit in a leadoff spot. I mean, that's something that's kind of started like within the last 5 years. It really wasn't the case a while ago. Usually your best hitter was suited for that cleanup spot or to hit third, but a lot of dynamics have changed in this game.
It has. You just want to get your best guy up there, and you figure, 7-inning games, you want to score first and score early, and and get that top of the order back up as many times as you can. And if you were a deeper team, 1 through 9, you can maybe have that guy batting third, but a lot of high school, you're not that deep sometimes, and you just want to get as many of your best hitters up and who can get on base early for you.
Who's going to be the ace for you this year, Coach? Who are you going to lean on?
Well, it's going to be Kyle Fairbanks and Christian Bagala, 2 seniors, and they both pitched a lot of big games for us the last 2 years. Christian pitched the district finals game for us 2 years ago, and then, like I said, Kyle pitched a 1-0 game for us last year, the district semifinals. So, we got 2 big arms to lean on there, and we have probably 7 or 8 deep in the pitching staff. So, with some of these young guys that's been stepping up at our scrimmages.
You've got a lot of tournament experience too, and when I saw you were on the list here, I was glad to see your name, because I think the last game of yours that I called, you guys annihilated some team. I think it was an inner-city Cleveland team that only won a game or 2 that year. And I remember talking to their coach going into that game. He said, look, take it easy on us today, because, we've only won a couple of games. We've got some kids that are just learning how to play the game. You guys batted around 3 times in the first inning of that game. And I remember after the game, you told me, how did you call that? Because it had to be a little tough. But I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about that game, too, because I think you handled that about as well as you could have possibly handled that. You weren't trying to run out the score. There was nothing you could do about that. But I looked at the way you handled that and thought, I don't think I've ever seen a coach have to pinch hit for a guy in the first inning because he didn't want him to bat 3 times. But you also got invaluable experience for some of your young guys who would have never seen the light of day otherwise in a situation like that. What do you think your kids learned from that?
Hey, you don't try scheduling a game like that. And I think I picked that up last minute because they were looking for a game and I didn't know much about them. But when you do get in a situation like that, you don't want to rub it in their face or anything, and you want to be classy about it. And it is a good opportunity for you younger kids to get in there and get some varsity experience. And I know the game you're talking about, and that's the first time that ever happened. But you don't want to do that to another team and stuff. But it is a good experience for the kids just to get some varsity experience like that.
What do you think your strengths are going to be this year coming into the season?
Yeah, I think it's going to be our pitching depth, starting pitching. We have a lot of team speed. I think we're going to be strong up the middle defensively. Top of the order hitting-wise, we should be fine. But then we're just going to need some of these younger kids to step up.
Is there any games on the schedule that you have circled or that you're more interested in than others?
All our conference games. Buckeyes always a big one. Westlake, Bay. We did some non-conference games. We picked up Midview, Avon. We always have Amherst. That's always a nip and tuck game for us every year. So, those are probably the main ones.
Does being in the GLCs last year mean anything extra for the boys?
No, it's going to give us a little bit more incentive that they didn't want us in there to win it. Last year we won our half of the division and stuff, and that's our goal to win it all this year on the way out.
So going into a new conference, you'll be playing schools that are a little further out. I know CVCA down at Cuyahoga Falls. I know you guys also have Lake Catholic also way out there in Lake County. So how's that going to change things for you guys? It's got to make things a little more difficult, too, because It's going to be a little interesting to see how you guys have to play the reshuffling of the deck every time it snows or it rains, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a learning experience. We haven't had to do that before. I mean, you may have one game a year where you may make it a road trip or have to travel, but 3 or 4 times, going out there. I mean, it's not going to be that bad because I'm not sure what 5-6 teams in the new conference, and maybe 3 of them that you have to go out there. So it's not 7 or 8 times, so it won't be that bad.
So going on the road, that was just looked at as a daunting task many years ago. Now it's not all that bad. You hear a lot of coaches say, look, that's a good team-building exercise, right? Because you have no choice but to get along when you're on that bus for an hour in some cases, or a half hour, whatever it might be. You think that's actually worked out in your favor, too, with some of these longer road trips, that these guys having a chance to gel a little bit extra on the bus?
Yes and no. I mean, going out to Parma and you hit all that traffic, it's 40 minutes, So, maybe add in 20 minutes, here or there, or a half an hour. But, those kids are focused on the bus on the way there. And, like I said, just having to do it a couple times a year, it's not going to be bad. And I like to travel. I like playing at different places. It's going to be probably a stronger conference with some of those schools like Lake Catholic and stuff. But and it's good for when we advance in the tournament, when you're playing away at these further schools having to travel. So, when we do that, going to regionals or district finals, sometimes that we're a little bit further out. Those kids now that may be their first time around that bus an hour. So when we're doing that, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, they're going to be prepared and be able to balance themselves on when to eat beforehand and so on and so forth. They'll be prepared for that bus ride at that point.
What scrimmages do you have coming up this week, Coach?
So we have Avon Lake tomorrow at Avon Lake. Thursday we go to Olmsted Falls. Last Saturday we did a doubleheader like Willard and Margaretta, and kids look good for being the first time out.
Good.
Well, you talked about the pitching maybe being one of your strengths this year. You feel like you've got a lot of arms in the rotation lined up. You have a lot of versatility. Do you guys have that set up so you guys have kids scheduled to throw one day, whether they're coming out of the pen or they're starting, or do you have defined roles for these guys already?
Early on, I got a couple kids that have been throwing a lot all winter, so they'll probably be able to go 4 or 5 innings, depending on the weather. But I have other guys that, and like role guys, I have guys that will be setting, 1 or 2 guys that may set up to be a closer. A couple kids that got started a little bit later, or arms were in shape early. They may be middle relievers and stuff, but early on, what I normally do is I'll look at a lot of schools will have this guy's on my Monday guy, this guy's my Tuesday guy. I look at my schedule for the week, for the next 2 weeks, and I have my team circled. All right, my number 1's going against these schools here. I may have to when you do the back-to-back conferences, I may pitch a guy on that maybe pitched Thursday will come back on the following Tuesday for the big conference game for a back-to-back, or he may go Monday and then not go for another week and a half. So if I have a guy that pushes that pitch count limit of like close to 120, which I very rarely will do that to a kid, but if he doesn't have any long innings and it's later in the season, and I have a kid go that long, I won't pitch him for another at least 10 days just to give him time to recover.
How detailed are these throwing programs? I mean, because you see all these things on social media, these guys are showing you what they're going through at all these indoor facilities, and it seems like those have blossomed the last 5 years too. How detailed do they get with these throwing programs in the off season?
Well, a lot of these kids have their own pitching coaches and their own programs, but I kind of tell these kids to shut down around December, January, and then slowly build back up, just because their arms are going to need a break there after the summer, and then the fall ball. So a lot of those kids will shut it down for 6 weeks to 2 months, and then slowly ramp up so that when we start in February, that they're ready to go full go. But we'll start them off maybe 30 pitches, and then build them up to 65 or 75 by the time the season starts.
It's a nice tool to have that many guys ready to rock and roll for you guys. Do you guys have a lot of multi-sport athletes too?
I would say maybe 10 kids in the program, 10 to 12 kids. Right now we have 38 kids in the program, so probably closer to 15 that will play football or basketball or another sport.
Coach, I appreciate you giving us some time today in the preview show, and good luck to the team moving forward.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Bruce Lasicki, head coach of the Elyria Catholic Panthers, giving us some time here today as we are live from Smitty's Place in Elyria. We're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk to the head guy from Avon, Patrick Scola, coming up next here on WDLW, the Lorain County Sports Network. Baseball Coaches Preview Show live from Smitty's Place in Elyria. It's Dave, it's Bull, and we have different coaches joining us here all night long. And right now it's Patrick Scola joining us from the Avon Eagles. Coach, thanks so much for giving us some time. How you feeling today?
Good, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about how the season's been going in preparation for this year.
Yeah, so we're about, I think, 3-4 weeks in, and our guys are doing a great job at practice and just getting better every day. That's our goal. Try to be 1% better each and every day. Learn from Monday to Tuesday, and that's what we're doing.
Who are some guys you're going to be relying on this year?
We do have a lot of returners. We have senior Joey Griffiths, we have senior Cole Ropoleski, and then we have 3 juniors, Ryan Sudbrook, Ian Kane, and Brody Pepe, and another senior is Chris Egger, and we're going to rely on those guys to lead our team because they've been around and been a part of a varsity season like last year, and they're doing a great job at just building camaraderie and building our humble and hungry mindset.
Who are some of the younger guys you think that might have a bigger role this year?
Some younger guys, we have Robbie Sikora, Colton Fitch, Andrew Falasco, Jason Gillespie, Luke Holtzman, to name a few, and another senior is Ethan Eibel and Baron Eberly. So we have a lot of young guys that are going to be ready to step in and learn from the older guys, learn from each experience. Baseball's a sport where you got to learn every single day. So.
That's it.
Speaking of learning, I know after you guys had that come-from-behind win over Elyria last year, one of the things you mentioned was that we've been in so many one-run games this year that I really kind of feel like that helped prepare us for this moment. You talked about having a lot of young guys.
Yeah.
Playing in those tight games has to give those guys a very valuable learning experience, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. Last year was a great experience for our now juniors and some of the seniors to just build and grow and learn from those experiences and learn from. We never say failure in our program. It's a lesson. Everything is a lesson. So from last year to this year, we're just trying to learn, and our guys are growing up and doing that, and they're doing a really nice job at practice.
So double-digit wins a season ago, and normally the number of games played doesn't mean a whole lot, but I think in baseball it does. You guys played well over 20 games last year. I think Max Preps had you guys down to like 27 or something like that. That's a lot of games playing this far north. That's a ton. I mean, that's got to make a big difference too.
I will say we have an acronym, GRACE, and the G is grateful, and we are very grateful that we're able to play on Crusher Stadium, having a turf field that just gives us an opportunity to do that. And we tell our guys every day, as soon as you walk through those gates, we got to be grateful for this opportunity just to be on a field like this. So we're pretty fortunate to play on a turf field for the majority of the time. So.
Well, and I've got to ask you about that, too, because the new ownership just took over with the press conference. Lem Komorowski and the entire ownership group bought the team from Tom Kramick. They had the press conference last Thursday. A couple of your guys were there. They were present at that press conference. That ought to be a really cool moment for those guys, but also for you, too, because they clearly highlighted their relationship with you guys. And I think that's got to go a long way with the kids, doesn't it?
Yeah, the relationship is the key, and we're just very fortunate to have those guys in our community willing to help out our high school baseball players. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
What would you think the strengths are going to be this year heading into the season?
The one thing, like I mentioned before, the leadership that we've from last year to this year. We have leadership and the experience, and the biggest thing is loving each other. Right? It's a brotherhood, and they have to go every single day, every single practice, every single game to just go compete with each other. And ultimately, when they can look at their teammate next to them and just understand that, hey, I want to go at bat for you, and that's a pretty surreal feeling that will help us go a long way.
Do you have any guys that are committed right now or getting looks for the next level?
We have 4 guys committed.
Wow.
So Joey Griffiths is going to Adrian College. Ryan Sudbrook is going to Toledo. Ian Kane, Kent State, and then the newest one is Brody Pepe at Wright State.
And how does that make you feel as a coach? That's got to make you proud, to get these kids to the next level.
Yeah. At the end of the day, our program is built on our players, and they set the culture. They've done a really nice job they've earned the right to play at the next level, and I'm so grateful to be their coach, and I know all of our assistant coaches are very blessed, and just to have guys like that who can be leaders and show the hard work that it takes and spill that knowledge over to our younger guys.
I didn't see if you guys were going down south for a spring break trip, but playing on a turf field, you don't really have to do that, do you? Because you guys have so many games that you play at home on turf, you don't really have to make that trip.
We're making a mini trip this year.
Okay.
We are going to just send it down south to Columbus, not as far, for over spring break for a overnight trip to be able to play on a really nice field. So yeah, it's very fortunate.
Playing at Bill Davis?
Upper Arlington.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. But still, I mean, even to get the kids together on the bus, to go down there for a weekend, it's a good team-building exercise, right? Get the guys together and do what baseball players do for a weekend, right?
Yeah, at the end of the day, building the brotherhood up, and like I said before, looking at each other and just, I want to go to bat, I want to pitch for you. And that's going to be the ultimate success story, and that's going to help shape them in life, too. That's our ultimate goal, is just to build these young men into adults. So.
You guys have a lot of crossover athletes, too, but look, at Avon, that's kind of the expectation, right? So because you guys do have some crossover athletes, about how long does it take it, from the end of one sport transferring over to another one? About how much time do you give that for those guys to kind of get ready and get into baseball shape?
Yeah, it does take a few days to just get acclimated. I know our basketball team just went on a pretty good run, and very fortunate to have those basketball guys play at multiple sports. And as they joined our baseball team this week, it's a little learning curve. You got to adjust to it. Baseball's a little slower pace than basketball. So they've done a really nice job at just, once again, understanding, like, hey, baseball is a game of failure, and just learning from each experience. So especially in practice, we want to learn a lot in practice, and then so we're ready for game time.
So with all the experience and leadership that you have, what are the expectations for this crew this year?
Number one goal is just to go 1-0 every day, right? One of our sayings I'm a big quote guy, so we want to be where our feet are always. So we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We just want to live in the moment. And if we can do that, because those are things we can control, then we have an opportunity to be successful this year for sure.
How do you do that in practice, to go back to your previous answer? Because I got to imagine that's a really, really tough challenge. Going from playing sports like football and basketball, where you're amped up and you're ready to rock and roll. Baseball's just so totally different. Like you said, you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're an all-star. Yeah. It's just such a different mentality. How do you get those guys to buy into that and understand that, look, chances are, you're not going to be successful, 6 or 7 times out of 10. That's that's a tough lesson for a kid to learn.
Yeah. The ultimate thing is when we talk to each other and talk as a staff and to our players is that there's other opportunities to help the team other than just getting a base hit. Right? You can go 0 for 1, but work a full count and get that pitch count up. Things like that. The whole goal is just having team at bats. What can I do for my brother is just have a team at bat, and in the practice plan we just gotta keep us moving, keep us engaged.
Who's the pitcher that you think is going to be the ace this year?
Brody Pepe is going to be our dude, and we're going to ride and die with him, and we put a lot of trust in him, and we're excited to see what he can do for us. For sure.
What's his best attribute?
He is a gamer. He brings a lot of energy. He is super focused when he's on that mound, and he does a nice job at living in the moment. And he picks people up in the field after somebody makes a mistake. He says, "I got you," and things like that can go a long way with our program and in baseball.
You mentioned he's going to Wright State. He's committed to Wright State.
Mm-hmm.
So what does he have in the arsenal?
He throws hard for sure.
Okay.
Does a nice job at pitch location and does a good job at. He throws hard.
Okay. I mean, can you discuss his velo? Like, where's he at right now?
I know he has hit 90. Sits upper 80s, but has touched 90 multiple times. So he's looking to sit at 90 pretty soon.
Is he junior? Sophomore?
He's a junior. Yeah.
So he's got plenty of room to grow then still. I mean, he's touching 90 as a junior.
Yes.
Wow.
Holy cow. Does he have other off-speed pitches to offset that?
Yep, he does. He does a good job at mixing those in. And we have a phenomenal pitching and catching coach that help him get amped up and ready for the season. So, yeah.
You find yourself in a situation where you have to talk to those guys about not necessarily focusing too much on velo, because it seems like there are a lot of kids that get stuck in that trap, right? They feel like they've got to throw the ball 100 miles an hour like everybody else, but location a lot of times, especially in high school, is sometimes more important than velo.
Yeah. Like I said, our pitching and catching coach, we have Coach Rosser and Coach Manny that do a great job at just focusing on the location and what pitch we want to throw in certain counts and really focusing on that. And sometimes it's just God-given that they can throw that hard too. So.
Oh, yeah, if I was 16, 17 throwing 90, I'd be in 7th heaven, man. I was walking to touch 50 at 17.
Coach, thanks so much for giving us some time. Good luck to the Eagles this year. We can't wait to see you guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Head coach Patrick Scola joining us here from the Avon Eagles and giving us some time here on the Coaches Show. We're going to take a quick break, and then we will get our next coach dialed up. It's the 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview live from Smitty's Place in Elyria right here on WDLW. The boys basketball. Coaches preview show right here on WDLW 98.9 FM, AM 1380, and streaming worldwide in high definition on WDLWradio.com. I want to take a few minutes to thank our sponsors for making this possible. That's Brentwood Golf Club. We want to make sure that you book online and save. You can play at Brentwood.com. Also want to thank Titan Tax. It's the home of the $100 e-file. You can call Titan Tax at 440-282-4800. Network Land Title Agency, safeguarding your investment, ensuring peace of mind. Visit networklandtitle.com. And finally, Legacy Home Finance, saving you time and money during the home buying process. Visit Jay Sloan at legacyhomefinance.com. We are here live at Smitty's Place in Elyria, and we're waiting for a coach to call in on the phone. I don't think we have them in yet, but we do have some coaches lined up here that we can. Okay, so we do got him on the hotline. Let's pull him in right now, and that'd be the head coach of the Clearview Clippers, Pito Quinones. Coach, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hello?
Coach, can you hear me there, Coach?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear him on my headsets. Let's see. One more time. Coach, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I can hear you now a little bit. Coach, how's the preparation for the season going right now?
So far, so good, man. I can't complain.
So who are some of the guys you're going to be leaning on this year?
Mostly my senior core, Anthony Ruiz, Aiden Cruz, Ashton Noble, Josiah Feliciano. They're 4-year varsity starters, so we're blessed with them this year.
Let's talk about Ruiz, who's committed to play at the next level, Coach. What are some of his attributes?
Man, he had a big year last year. I think he was at 400 batting average last year. One of the better first basemen, if not probably, to me, top 2 in the area. He can play third base, pitches. He's a leader, so he's definitely been helping me a lot with some of the younger guys, taking that role.
And then Aiden Cruz, how is he looking heading into this year?
Stronger than ever, man. This kid, he's a highlight waiting to happen. Like I've always said, I call him ESPN, so I'm excited for this. This is the first year in 3 years he had a head start with his baseball workouts and stuff like that, so he's on track right now.
Coach, tell me about that facility. I had a chance to scope it out a little bit back in October when I was there to call a football game. You've got the turf infield. I know that's kind of been a sticking point for you guys not having a chance to play at home much these last couple of years. How excited are you and the kids to finally get a chance to play a home game on that turf field?
Man, we're super excited. I think we got 18 home games this year. So we've actually been out there more than we expected so far with this weather. I mean, if it's above 40, we're out there practicing. So we're very excited to be able to play at home finally in the past. This is my first time in 3 years that I've got to have a home game.
So what were some of the major challenges there, Coach? I mean, the last couple of years, not being able to play at home. It's got to be really tough for you guys to constantly have to travel. What were some of the big hurdles for you and the kids these last couple of years not being able to play at home?
Just really not having that home crowd there to root you on, man, and, being able to, do what we do in front of our people, man, it was kind of tough. It was like we was playing against fans and the teams. So, like this year, we finally get that, where we can play in front of our home crowd, our kids' parents, and even our alumni. So I'm looking forward to it.
Coach, who are some of the young guys that you're going to count on this year?
Definitely, I have a sophomore, Sean Mettler. He's our gasser. He's up in the 80s throwing right now. And Nathan Brister, he's going to be stepping it up for us behind the plate as a catcher. Got a young kid, Bryson Jackson. He's a freshman. He's raw talent. Once we tweak him and he figures out what he can really do, he's going to be something special.
What do you think the strength of the team is going to be this year?
Really, our senior core and So far from what I'm seeing this year, I've been working a lot about like unity and stuff like that. They've all been meshing real good, man. Today we just got done with practice about a half hour ago, and today was one of the funnest practices I've had all year. You know, it was like they was out there playing rec ball. They was having fun, smiling, laughing. We're getting stuff done. We're preparing. We got our first scrimmage versus Elyria on Thursday, so they're excited about that.
So how is it different for you guys playing on turf? I've heard from people before say, look, if it takes you a couple of games to just kind of get used to it, the hops are a little bit different. You know, when it rains a little bit, you got to start your slide a little bit earlier going into second base, and not just second base. Now, sliding into any base, you got to start your slide a little bit earlier. But, you know, sometimes it does take some time to get used to it. Do you think you guys have gotten used to that new surface already?
Yes. Well, I'll say some of them are. You know, there's some kids that they've never played on turf ever, but I'm blessed with some kids that they play on good travel leagues and stuff like that, so they play on turf over the years. But, yeah, we're definitely still learning it. It's a lot faster than playing on a dirt grass, like dirt and grass infields. So, yeah, we're still learning it, but, I mean, for the most part, we got it down pat.
Coach, what are some games that you have circled on the schedule this year that you're looking to test the Clippers?
There's a couple. I know against Wellington, we had a couple good games against them last year. A Keystone game I know I want, and I want to see where we're at with Firelands. You know, they won our conference last year, so really got to be a test to really show where we're at with them.
You also kind of feel like sticking with the surface. You feel like that gives you guys an advantage, too, because there aren't many teams in this area that have that. And you mentioned, look, it's going to take a little bit of time to get used to those hops early on. It gets on you a little bit faster. You feel like that gives you guys at least a little bit of an advantage when you play teams that haven't played on that surface much or at all in some cases?
Oh, definitely, yeah. You know, especially if they don't know what it can do. And we practice there almost every day. So, yeah, it's definitely going to give us an advantage of that.
What have the kids been doing in the off season to get ready for this long grind?
So I've had quite a few of my returning players. They worked out a lot over at T3. We had this a program called the ACES, and it's like kids in Lorain. You know, you fill out an application, they approve you for so much money. Now we had a kid there. I think they gave him over $4,000 worth of training. And that's that Sean Mettler kid, man, and you see the difference in them big time. And Jameer Sim, he's worked a lot of middle infield work there, a lot of hitting. You see the difference in him. So a lot of our kids been putting in that extra work, man. It's, you know, they're starting to take the culture. They want to win. We just got to do it now.
And as far as the culture goes, I mean, I think you talk about a lot of the newness. You're finally getting a chance to play some home games now. You know, how has the culture changed over the last 12 months?
It's definitely changed from all our sports. Like, look at our football team. They made it to, the third round. Our basketball team, you know, they made it, you know, to the playoffs and stuff. And so little by little, you know, all the students in the schools, and they're taking it, you know, by what it is and trying to grab it by the net. So now it's our turn to see if we can turn that switch on the baseball field now.
Coach, good luck this season. Thanks for giving us a call and stopping in, and we look forward to talking to you again later on in the season.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having us.
Absolutely. That's head coach Gilberto Quinones from Clearview, also known as Pito, and he was happy enough to join us on the hotline and give us a call as we are here at Smitty's live, getting ready to eat some Smitty's burgers.
Have you seen that facility yet?
What's that?
It is awesome.
Clearview?
Man. Not just the baseball field, the softball field, too.
I did see the football field, but I have not, went out and ventured on it and toured it.
It's awesome, man.
But
it's nice.
It definitely is going to do some justice there in Lorain. It's much needed. And, you know, I could have touched on the draining issues, as he said, man. Any day above 40, they've been outside, and it's been pretty wet out here. But head coach Pito Quinones joining us from Clearview as he's given us the breakdown on what's going on out there in the LC8 as everybody's trying to catch up to the Firelands Falcons. And we do have some coaches here that we're going to probably pull away from their burger because we're ready for them here soon. But we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll get our next guest lined up. You're listening to the 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview Show right here on WDLW.
Comfort, protection.
Middies place in Elyria, where friends go to meet. If you want to come hang out, we're live here in Smitty's place in Elyria, getting our Smitty Burger fix in. Want to say a special thank you and shout out to Stephanie Forthover for letting us be here and use her place of business for the 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview Show. It's sponsored by Titan Tax, Brentwood Golf Club, Network Land Title Agency, and Legacy Home Finance. We've been talking to some of the head coaches from around Lorain County, and we've covered the GLC. We've covered the LC8. It's time to head into the Lake Erie League, as we are joined right now by the head coach of the Lorain Titans. That's Brad Turnus. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
So tell us about how the season's been going early on in preparation for opening day.
All right, yeah. So far, the weather's been great, so it's been nice to get outside. We have a new turf field at the Pipe Yard, so we've been taking advantage of that. Probably been outside more this season than we have since when I coached at Southview, when we had a pretty nice field over there. So we're taking advantage of the outside time for sure.
So, Coach, last year I spent some time with you on that Pipe Yard field, cleaning up holes and trying to get the field ready to play. Just tell us a little bit about what the improvements were that they made to the Pipe Yard.
Yeah, for the most part, to the varsity baseball field, it's just the turf infield surface. So that's what we're dealing with right now. There is still a little area transitioning from the turf to the outfield where the drain was put in. We're waiting for that grass to grow, but I'm trying to negotiate with our athletic director that that's not going to be a deal breaker as far as playing our games there.
Right.
And then we're still also in the process of working with the city of Lorain to build a double tunnel batting cage to help kind of finish out the facility. Okay. Both sides also have a nice built-in bullpen in foul territory with nice mounds and catching mats, so pretty good improvement.
How are the numbers for the baseball team? I've seen they're trying to bring back Lorain City baseball to try to get the younger kids back involved, and I know that's got to be news to your ears.
Yeah, it's great to see that one of my coaches, Coach Levis, trying to get that going, along with Carlos Chavis through the Lorain Schools intramural department. Because our numbers have not been the greatest. We're definitely down. We're down to just a varsity and a JV team compared to usually filling 3 full teams. Last year we at least had a JV A and a B, and this year we're just doing a varsity and a JV.
Double-digit wins a season ago. Guys were tops in the Lake Erie League. I mean, there's a lot to build on off of that. So who do you have coming back from last year's team?
Well, we got only 4 seniors this year, so we are a little bit young, but we do have 2 returning juniors also. Out of my seniors, we have Shane Hargraves, middle infielder, relief pitcher. Shane Ramey Rowland is our first baseman, and Shane throws hard, and we're going to try to give him a look on the mound this year. He does throw the ball hard, so we're working on that. Anthony Rosa is an infielder and pitcher. Miguel Torres is our 4th senior outfielder. And then we also have 2 juniors coming back from varsity experience with Tracy Huff and Preston Whitfield. Tracy got the majority of our innings last year, was probably our most successful pitcher, so it's great to have him back after such a successful sophomore season.
What are some of the things you saw from the young man you said you want to see on the mound this year? Obviously, he's got a nice, strong arm, but what are some of the things you saw that you thought, you know what, maybe we should give him a chance to just jump up on the bump and see what he's got?
Oh, you're talking about Ramey Rowland?
Yeah.
He throws hard. He's a smart kid also, so, that's something that, you got to take advantage of. He has a baseball IQ, so, as long as he knows that he can throw strikes and, get guys out, pitch to contact, I think he'll do all right.
So let's stay with Shane Ramey Rowland. He is a great interview, by the way, Bull. He's a football player, and I've had him on a few times, and as Coach mentioned, he's going to the next level, going to college. How does being a lineman transition on the baseball field?
I'm not sure exactly how that transitioned. Other than that mentality, he's a go
Great
after
kid,
it.
man.
Yeah, good kid, absolutely. He's a guy that we're hoping to count on, especially with his bat. I know he's a strong kid, so he's been putting some work in the cages in the off season, and his swing's looking pretty good. So hopefully he'll have good success at the plate also.
You brought up the Pipe Yard earlier, and I had no idea you guys were putting a turf surface in there. That's fantastic. But I think you guys also have just such a unique setup there too, because it's a big stadium field. Mm-hmm. That outside of Crusher Stadium, nobody else really plays in a big stadium field like that too, with the grandstand, the whole 9 yards. And for some kids, they walk into that environment. That's a lot to take in, but your kids are used to that.
Yeah, definitely. We don't always necessarily get the big stadium feel for some of the games as far as the crowd that turns out. But we did have one experience, especially last year when we played Clearview under the lights on a Friday night. I mean, that was definitely a big stadium feel. So, yeah, we're hoping to try to take advantage of that moving forward, at least schedule maybe a night game or two where we can get those boys those Friday night light experiences for baseball as well.
And, of course, when you get to the pipe yard, you got to drive through all those Little League fields to get there, too. And you're talking about, kind of rebuilding the whole new youth program. And I think you guys are situated, as far as the proximity to everything goes, perfectly there, too, because I think once those kids see what you guys have going on, that's like really, it's an awe-inspiring moment, right? As a kid, you're playing on those little fields, and you work your way up to the bigger fields, and all of a sudden you're at the pipe yard, right? So I kind of feel like just that's a natural fit for you guys.
Yeah, and it'll be nice to see youth baseball coming back to Lorain. I know Coach Charleston on the softball side has got a little bit ahead of everything. He's already got some momentum built with the youth leagues and some teams put together. So hopefully we can follow suit with that with the baseball, at least a couple teams this year, and then maybe moving forward, branch out from there.
Who are some of those arms you're relying on in the rotation?
Like I said, Huff had majority of the innings last year, so definitely he'll be a top of the rotation kind of guy. Anthony Rosa is a senior. He was another one who got a decent amount of innings last year. We're counting on him to be one of the starters and take us deep into games. And then we do pitching depth is probably one of our stronger suits, but a lot of the guys haven't been challenged. We have probably 7 or 8 different guys that have the ability to throw strikes. It's just going to be a matter of which ones can do it with a batter in the box. It's kind of hard to tell early in the season, especially with some of the guys that we're trying to develop that don't have a lot of varsity pitching experience, what they're going to do once they get into a game situation.
How do you simulate that? I know every coach goes at this differently, but how do you simulate that? That's a hard thing, I think, for kids to picture. So how do you guys do that?
We do some live at-bats in the batting cages in the gym. So even with in the indoor practices when the weather's not the greatest, we'll put our indoor mound into the batting cage and let the guys go live against each other. And our kids are competitive. They like competing against each other. They don't want to be struck out by one of their buddies. So they give it to each other. So that's one way that we do it. Now that we're outdoors, hopefully we can start getting a few more live at-bats on the field as well.
7 or 8 kids, you said they can consistently throw strikes?
Yeah, I think have the ability to throw strikes. I won't say consistently until we get out there in a game situation, but that definitely have the ability.
But that's a huge tool to have, though, especially when you get into some of the warmer weather weeks. I won't say months just yet. We don't get there until you guys are done playing, essentially.
Right,
but, when you get into late April, those are nice to have because a lot of times you're making up for lost ground when you get to that third week of April. You're trying to jam 7 games into a week where you might only have 3 days to play.
Yeah, absolutely. You're definitely going to have to go deep into the bullpen when you get backed up. Hopefully with the turf, we won't get as backed up as we have in some years past.
Yeah.
So maybe we won't get that backlog, but you never know.
It's going to be a challenging and interesting season. Let's dive into the Lake Erie League as a whole. People don't look at it as a baseball conference. What do you feel about it overall, Coach?
It's a shame to have seen Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights leave last year because those were 2 of the better schools in the LEL. And those were 2 schools that we always battled with. It seemed like us and Cleveland Heights, it would come down to the last inning of the bottom of the 7th, like the last 3 years. We would always have that walk. Somebody was going to have a walk-off win to possibly win or tie the championship. So I'm going to miss those teams. Bedford will probably be the next team in line that will, take over that spot for Cleveland Heights as far as giving us our run for our money for the league. I think we'll have some pretty good games with Bedford. And the rest of the games, we'll probably just have to make sure that we do things right. Possibly get some experience for some of the younger guys against some of the less experienced LEL teams as well, though, when we play some of those games.
Does scheduling your non-conference games factor in so much because of how down the LEL is? Do you try to schedule tougher non-conference games?
I think my AD did add a few tougher non-conference games this year. I think our non-conference schedule is a little better than it has been in the past. So, yeah, we should have, a pretty solid schedule all the way through, whether it be, a weaker opponent from the LEL or whether we're facing a non-conference team.
You guys have experience playing on turf, though, right? Doesn't Bedford still have turf? Did they ditch turf a while ago?
No, Bedford only had their football field's turf, but their baseball field is grass.
They got away with the turf field at Bedford?
Yes.
Oh, I played JV baseball like 20-some years ago, and it was turf at Bedford. I thought that was the greatest thing ever.
No, as long as I've been coaching and playing against Bedford, their baseball field sits down behind the football stadium, and it's been grass surface.
That's a shame because it was weird at first because you felt like you were running on somebody's deck in their backyard. It was just a weird setup. What you guys have is so much better now, too, and they just advanced that over the years. But, you had talked about, how you guys are getting ready for the season. I see you're not supposed to start until the 28th against Vermilion. Is that right?
No, we open up on the 23rd with Amherst.
So you guys, okay. So you still have a little bit of, you have almost 2 weeks to get ready for that.
Yeah.
So what are you guys hoping to see from your kids the next 2 weeks?
We're hoping to just get some live experience next week. Unfortunately, we don't have scrimmages scheduled this week with the weather that's coming. We've been doing some inter-squad stuff on the turf, though, already. Next week, we have a scrimmage with Firelands on Monday and Wellington on Wednesday or Thursday. So hopefully we'll get a couple of those games in, even if it's a little colder. Not the nice weather we're having this week, but hopefully we can get those in to get our guys some live at-bats against some different pitchers and get ready for Saturday.
Coach, thanks so much for giving us some time, and good luck this season. We hope to see the Titans doing well this year.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Brad Turn has given us some time here at Smitty's Place in Elyria. He is the head coach of the Lorain Titans, and we're going to be joined now by the head coach of the Brookside Cardinals as we get him adjusted and ready to go. It's the head coach of the Brookside Cardinals, Travis Baldwin, joining us. Coach, how you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, man. I know it's a little bit of a challenge to get to Smitty's Place right now with all the construction going on. I thank you for taking some time out.
Absolutely.
So how has the season been going in preparation for opening day?
It's been really good. We had our biggest turnout tryouts-wise since I've been at Brookside. We had 35 kids try out. Yeah, it was great. Getting some excitement back into the program and getting some kids to get out there, and it's just been a really good start to our season.
I know they're excited about the freshman class that's coming into Brookside, and there's been a lot of success from the other sports. Talk about football and basketball. How is that helping the baseball program?
Oh, it's awesome to see the example that Scott in football and Larry in basketball set for us is really, really awesome. I'm grateful to get to run the clock for the boys' games on Friday night, so I get to sit right there and
you get to hear Gary all day.
Yeah, I do. That's a privilege, honestly. And just listening to Larry coach those guys and what his assistant coaches do, it's just been really helpful for me. And it just kind of sets a culture at Brookside that we're trying to win. We're not here just to play.
Those two guys are fiery. You take some fire from them too?
So I'm more of a reserve guy. I think my kids will tell you maybe not so much all the time. There are times where I can get after it, but for the most part, I'm more of a laid-back kind of guy. It's the counselor in me as a coach.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, as a baseball guy, you kind of have to be reserved, right? Because you never know when you got to flip that switch. It might be sunny and 70 at 10 o'clock, and then it might start raining at 3. So you got to be reserved, right?
Yeah, absolutely, because you're dealing with chaos all spring. That's the best thing in the world to deal with. I say with a lot of sarcasm, but yeah, like you said, you can be inside all day, and then all of a sudden it's 70 out, and you can get outside. And we've been dealing with that a little bit. We've been blessed. We've gotten outside probably 5 or 6 times so far this year, which is just, I don't know if we're outside 5 or 6 times at all last year before the season started. So it's just been a blessing so far.
So who are some of the top returning guys? Maybe experience and upperclassmen coming back for you?
Yeah, so we've got Ben Montgomery. He's going to be a third year.
Who does it all?
Or fourth year even on varsity, but with 3 years on varsity with me. But yeah, he does do it all. We're returning our starting catcher. We got actually starting first baseman, we think, from North Ridgeville, which has been huge. He's another arm that we can throw. Joey Polensky's his name. We got Joe DeLuca, our shortstop. Lucas Rivera at third base returning for us. So we've got some guys coming back that have some varsity experience, which is really, really exciting for us.
3 all-county performers last year. Gives you guys a lot to build off of, and it seems like that's something that really kind of translated into more success in the offseason. Following you guys on Twitter, you have some kids put in some serious work in the weight room. When you talk about baseball, it's like what these kids are doing at these indoor facilities. You guys are still pumping iron, putting in some pretty good work. It seems like that success has been contagious with you guys.
Yeah, it's been awesome. And one of the kids I forgot to mention, Easton Weber, is a returner for us as a sophomore. And he's one of those guys that puts in the work in the weight room. When I came back for weightlifting this year, and he walked in for the first time. I saw him at school, but never like ready to weightlift. It looked like he just like ate weights over the summer. And he actually ended up making our 1,000-pound club at Brookside.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just a culture that's being built. Our strength coach, Ron Bear, is just the best. The kids love him. The coaches love him. The administration loves him. He's just awesome. He's at everything. He cares so much about the kids. We're so blessed to have somebody like that working with us and making our kids better athletes. But yeah, that is translating for us. We are getting after it in the weight room. We still work out twice a week in season, just trying to stay healthy. So it's been great.
What do you think some of the strengths are going to be this year?
So I think pitching is going to be a big strength for us. Another kid that I forgot to mention, Nick Era, was our ace last year. He looks like he's going to be our ace again this year. He throws the ball really, really well. He's just got good command. He's poised on the mound, which is the biggest thing you can have in high school baseball. Good curveball. We're working on a changeup with him. So I think we've got some starters that we think can go deep into games for us, and we've got some guys that can be relievers for us too. So, that's something that we're excited for, and we have spent countless hours working on defense so far this year and just communication. So we think that our defense hopefully should be one of our strong suits, because we've been telling the guys, if you can hold people from scoring runs, you're going to score runs yourself. Yeah. And that was our biggest thing, is like we would score maybe 5-6 runs, but we'd lose 10 or 11 to 5 or 6. So that's what we've been focusing on a lot this year.
When the errors start to pile up, is that mental? Is that where that starts to get them?
Yeah, that's my thought process, is it's mental, because, I see these guys all the time when it comes to baseball, and, I know they're capable of making the plays, and you get so down on yourself when you make a bad play that you just want to, make up for it. And we're in the process of saying, if you boot a ball, you can't make up for time lost by throwing the ball harder.
Yeah.
So our biggest thing that we preach is don't compound an error with an error. If you make a mistake, we're fine with it. I never get on guys for physical mistakes, because that's the biggest part of the game. You go 3 for 10 and you're a Hall of Famer if you have a lifetime 3 for 10 average.
Right.
So, but if you can't have it mentally, that's where we'll have discussions of like, you have to stay calm in high pressure situations. So yeah, definitely the mental aspect of the game is huge.
I want to backtrack. You mentioned you're working with one of your kids on developing a changeup.
Mm-hmm.
How tough a sell was that? Because I think, having a great curveball, right? A nice 12-6, drops off the table, throwing gas. Everybody wants to do that. I've often found it's tough to get kids to buy into throwing an off-speed pitch, but that's grown in popularity over the years,
right,
because just because you're throwing an off-speed pitch doesn't necessarily mean you got to throw it slower. You got to make it dance a little bit.
Right.
So what kinds of things do you guys do to get these kids to buy in to throwing that off-speed pitch?
So what I like to do is I like to get input from different guys that I know that have played college baseball. And every guy that I've ever talked to that played college baseball or higher tells me the hardest pitch to hit is a changeup. And it's not a curveball, because, the curveball looks nothing like the fastball. I can pick that up out of your hand. I can end up getting a hit off of it, or I can foul it off. But a changeup is a fastball for 50 feet, and then it's not a fastball. And when you shrink that time of where you're reacting, it's a lot harder to hit that. So our big key on that has been guys on the mound trying out new grips for their off speed, for their changeups and stuff, and just finding what is comfortable for them. So when we get into pitching, we look at different changeup grips, and we're like, throw it like this or throw it like this. Find your comfort zone, and when the ball actually starts to move and they pick it up, that's when the buy-in starts. So the faster we get to that, the better. So anybody that's a pitcher, they know that when they're playing catch, warming up, they have to throw 5 changeups for every 5 fastballs to work on that. So maybe a little bit of a forced buy-in, but a buy-in nonetheless.
But it works. I'm telling you, you're right. Once they pick that up and they see that it dances for those last 10 feet, and once you figure out how to do it, I mean, it's so deceptive too, right? The speed of the arm, as opposed to just how differently it's coming
Right.
out of your hands. It's
Right.
hard to pick up as a hitter too. So when you guys put kids in there for live BP, does it take them a while to pick that up too?
Yeah. So that is another thing that we've been blessed with this year, that we've been outside. We've been able to do more live at bats and things like that. And I actually called out a changeup to one of our batters because he shook it off. The pitcher shook it off before, and I was like, nope, you don't get to do that. So so I called it out, and I was like, hey, you're getting a changeup here. And our hitter still swung and missed, and he walked away. He's like, that was unhittable. And I was like, that's the goal, like that's what you want. We want to have a changeup that is a fastball for as long as possible, and then it just breaks off and away from you if you're a lefty, or India if you're a righty, depending on your throwing right-handed or left-handed. So, yeah, it's been good because it helps us pick those up too. And like you said, changeups are very challenging to pick up. You just got to keep your hands back and hope you didn't get fooled too bad.
Hope you're not looking for your shoes, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're listening to WDLW Lorain. We're live in Smitty's Place in Elyria for the WDLW 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview Show. We're joined right now by Travis Baldwin from the Brookside Cardinals. Talk about the LC8. Firelands is the standard. Where do you guys fit into that?
Yeah, I mean, it is a tough conference. Firelands has been at the top, but, a lot of the other teams are very good too. Wellington has some guys, in Kinter specifically coming back. That kid throws gas.
Yeah, we've heard.
we fortunately were lucky to see him enough twice last year in the 2 games that we played against him, so that was really fun. But no, he's really good. Black River's always really, really good. They're very well coached. Every team in our conference is incredibly well coached. I just admire those guys a lot for the work that they've put in. I could talk about every single team in our conference. Keystone's really good. Clearview is made major improvements since I've been at Brookside. Oberlin's made some improvements too. So their coach has done a really great job and working for his guys and stuff like that. So really just every team that we could run into in the LC8 is just, you got to bring your A game every day, because if you don't, you're going to lose.
Right.
Some days you're going to bring your A game and lose too, and that's part of baseball. It's part of sports in general. But if at least you brought your A game, you can say you left it all out on the field.
So what about the group that you have makes you think that you guys are going to be there at the very end? Because it seems like, like you say, every single year people are chasing Firelands, right? But as you look at this group you guys have, what makes you as the coach think, hey, we've got a chance to be there at the very end?
I think we've got some experience. I think we are very bought into what, my coaching staff is trying to teach, and how the style of baseball that we want to play. So I think, year 3 is a big year for me, and that's a big year that, the culture is hopefully going to start to shift. And you can change the culture in practice and everything, but it doesn't really change until you're translating it to on the field success. So that is something that we're really working on, is just getting bought into how are we going to put, what is Brookside baseball, what does it mean? And I think our guys are really bought in, and our practices have been awesome. It really feels like our group is a family. They feel really, really close. We're doing a lot of things to make sure that happens, and they're just excited. They're chomping at the bit to get outside and get doing some other stuff. And we're scrimmaging Elyria tomorrow, so that's going to be a really nice opponent for us to get a look and see what we've got. And another part of that is we've got young guys pushing the older guys to play better in practice and in games, which is something you need. We didn't have that last year when we didn't have a JV team. So this year, we've got competition, and competition makes the best out of all of us. So that's something that's really exciting.
Well, I'd say if you have kids eating weights and learning changeups, you're doing something right.
Right, yeah. It's working so far. We're just hoping it translates to on-field success.
The culture is definitely changing at Brookside. You could see it first with the football team and basketball and now baseball. Travis, thanks so much for giving us some time. Good luck this season, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Travis Baldwin, the head coach of the Brookside Cardinals, as we get ready for our next guest. We're going to bring in Mr. Rossitano from the Amherst Comets.
By the way, man, you follow those guys on Twitter, Amherst?
Oh, absolutely.
It's lights out, man. They got walkout songs for their kids. They have like these little graphics made for every kid, too. It's awesome, man. I wish I had that stuff like that when I was playing high school baseball.
Joining us now is the head coach for the Amherst Comets, Matt Rossitano. Coach, thanks for joining us, and I'll be the first to say congratulations on making the Lorain Hall of Fame as well.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. As many of you might not know, but Matt and I were high school teammates. Matt was actually the quarterback on my football team. I didn't have the pleasure of playing baseball with him, and I see that's where he excelled the most at. Matt, talk about this team that you got, man.
I'm pretty excited for this year. We have an interesting mix. We only have 4 seniors.
Okay.
but we have the 4 seniors are fantastic leaders. They're hard workers. And then we have a great group of talented younger guys. We have a couple of freshmen that can make an immediate impact. Kale and Cole Charles, twins.
Wow.
A couple impact sophomores that all got varsity experience last year. Harrison Snyder made a couple starts as a freshman last year. His first varsity start as a freshman, he no-hit mentor. So that was.
That's pretty.
I mean, we had high expectations for him, but you go out and you no-hit mentor in your first varsity start as a freshman. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Tyler Den, sophomore outfielder, got a lot of varsity experience last year. And Landon Wolf, who will probably be our third baseman, he got a couple varsity at-bats last year, too, as a freshman. And then we have a really good, solid group of juniors to mix in. So I really like our team chemistry. Our big thing this year is because, last year our biggest problem was, and I'm sure you guys followed us a little bit, our pitching was, I would have put our pitching staff up with anybody in the state last year.
Right.
Like our team ERA was 1.2. You look at our pitching stats, you're like, how are you not 30-0?
Right.
Our team batting average was 240.
Ugh.
And you look at our offensive stats, and you're like, how are you not 0-30?
Yeah.
So, we finished 19-9, and I think the big thing this year is, can we get our pitchers some run support? If we can score our pitchers some runs, I think it's going to be a really fun year at Amherst.
So how do you work on that in the off season to get your offensive game where your pitching is?
Yeah, we've done a few new things. We've really concentrated on the mental approach of at-bats so far early this year. You have to have an approach when you step in the box. Like, you can't just go up there and say, oh, I'm just going to go up and hit. It's a lot more mental than it is physical, because all the kids have the physical talent to do it. It's just, do we have the mental aspect where we can have the correct approach, and that approach might change in the middle of a bat. If there's a guy on first, and now we have a pass ball, and then we have a guy on second, or a guy gets to third.
Right.
All the situational stuff.
Right.
So, we just have to be able to stay, disciplined and aggressive at the plate. And if we can do that, we have talented bats in the lineup, and I think we could be exciting.
I want to stick with that for a moment because I think the mental aspect of hitting is just so interesting, especially in high school baseball when you never really know if you're going to play that day or not, right? And it's so cold. I'll never forget, about 17 years ago, we got done playing a series. It was freezing cold. It's like 30-some degrees outside. One of our relief pitchers, we were sitting outside hanging out. I said, would you rather face a guy when it's 80 degrees or, in what we had here tonight, high 30s, low 40s? He said high 30s, low 40s all day, every day, because hitters hate hitting when it's that cold outside.
Sure.
How tough is that to get those kids to buy in and kind of understand how to hit in those conditions when it's just so tough? It's just tough. It's tough to stay loose.
Yeah. One thing we always tell the guys, because you might play games where it's snowing, where, you're playing in a drizzle, it's windy, our team is playing in the same conditions as our opponents.
Yep.
So you need to be mentally tougher than your opponent. If you get an inside pitch and fist it off and it stings your hands, you got to be able to shake it off and get back in there and have that confidence at the plate where no matter where that pitch is, if it's in my zone, I'm going to take a good hack at it. And I think that goes back to the mental approach. It's like I said, our goal this year at the plate is to be disciplined and aggressive. And hopefully we will. I think we have the bats that should pay off for us, and we'll see.
You ran through some of the kids on your team, and I thought I saw a typo when I was looking through you guys on Twitter earlier. You have a kid that's 6'9"?
Yes.
He's 6. And, I mean, the crazy thing is, you look at that team picture, he's huge, but the kid, next to him is almost as tall as he is. You guys have an imposing team coming off that bus.
Yeah, we have some get-off-the-bus guys.
For sure.
Yeah. Dylan Coughlin, he's about 6'9", 240, left-handed pitcher, first baseman.
Wow.
He swings the bat a little bit. If he has a hot bat, we might stick him in the outfield as well. That whole family is enormous. I played with his dad. Ryan Coughlin was also a pitcher. He was 6'8". Well, he is still 6'8". He has a brother that's 6'7". They have another. Their whole family's big. So, Dylan can be an imposing force. We're trying to, again, the mental aspect. He has all the tools, and if he can be consistent on the mound and the plate, he can be a very effective player for us.
So he's in the outfield, too. I don't think I've ever seen a 6'9" kid glide in the outfield like that. How does he move out there?
Honestly, he's not. He's fairly athletic for his size. We actually made a joke in the fall. You know, we do our Green Gold World Series, and he was out in right field, and he was on the gold team. And you know, I'm behind the plate just observing, and a ball was hit out to right field, and he made the play. And I told our catcher, Jacob Sleesher, I go, how did the foul pole just catch the ball? Because he just, wearing a yellow shirt standing in right field, he just, you know, 6'9", he just looked like a foul pole out there, and that was kind of a joke. But yeah, no, the big thing with Dylan is if he can be consistent, he's going to be very effective.
Talk about the kid next to him in the picture, too. I mean, he gets lost in the mix because he's 6'9". The other kid's got to be 6'6", 6'7", right?
Right.
Pretty close?
Harrison Snyder's about 6'3", 6'4". We already talked about him a little bit.
Wow.
And then the other guy in that picture was Landon Wolf. He's about 6', 6'1".
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez, oh, man.
So how do you replace Mr. Baseball from last year, Martin Palanque?
Like I said, our pitching staff, between Martin Palanque and Chase Mayer and Cam Gendix, you can't replace those guys.
Anybody similar?
We are very high on Harrison Snyder. Like I said, he got a couple varsity starts last year as a freshman. He has been, I've seen him up to 86 miles an hour, and he has really good off-speed stuff. He'll more than likely be a conference pitcher for us. I referenced the twins, the freshman twins, Cole and Cale Charles. One's lefty, one's righty.
Oh, wow.
We are really excited about them. Remember, they're freshmen.
Yeah.
Cale, the righty, has been consistently sitting 84, 85, and I've seen him up to 88.
Wow.
And Cole, the lefty, is consistently 82, 83, and I've seen him up to 86.
Wow.
So we're really excited. Now, they've only ever, played against guys their age. So there's going to be an adjustment period going from playing against other 14-year-olds to playing against, seniors in high school, a lot of which are going to go on to play at the next level. So there's going to be an adjustment period for both of them. But we're really excited about those guys. Anthony Hakinen, a junior for us, pitched primarily in relief last year. He'll more than likely again be one of our conference starters to start the year. He's crafty, he's got a funky delivery, really good off-speed stuff, and he pitched really well for us last year. So between those four, and then I talked about Dylan Coughlin, and then our pitching staff's going to be rounded out with a few more juniors, Alex Lackner and Logan Banias, a couple more lefties that can be very effective. And Cam Rios, another junior who, again, doesn't throw very hard, but he throws really good off-speed stuff, and he's just a bulldog on the mound. You don't think of a guy that, throws 75 miles an hour as a potential closer, but just his mentality on the mound, I could see him closing games for us.
You guys, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You guys pride yourself on the 20-win seasons.
Mm-hmm.
What are the expectations this year?
Every year I want to win 20 games. At minimum 20 games. I think we should be talented enough, and like I said, if we can stay consistent and disciplined, we should be right in there in the mix for the SWC championship. And, goals every year, 20 wins, SWC championship, district championship, and then see what happens from there.
It's funny you brought that up because, the last game I called for you guys lost a heartbreaker against St. Ignatius about 3 or 4 years ago over at Tri-C.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget leaving the ballpark that day. I don't know who it was, one of the parents of the kids. You know what? We'll be here again next year. Sure enough, you guys have been there again like the last 4 years, so it seems like that's the expectation. And, the program has been built on so many different things, and you guys have some guys that have gone on to have a lot of success, both at the major league or minor league level.
Sure.
And I want to talk about, one of the more recent ones. Evan Shaver. He's in the camp with the Rockies right now.
Yeah.
That's got to be really cool for you to be able to show the kids that, look, this program has produced some really, really good talent over the years.
Yeah. This is no disrespect to anybody I've ever coached. I love Evan Shaver. I still talk to him almost every day, if not every day. We'll just have a little correspondence or whatever. I'll ask him how things are going, how his arm's feeling. He wasn't supposed to report until late March, and they called him and said, we need to get you down here right now. And he's had a really good, according to him, he's had a really good start to his spring training. He's been up to 96, and he's not a big guy. He's like 6 foot, 190 pounds.
Wow.
He was in High A Spokane all of last year, and I think we're both, me and Evan, and probably everybody in Amherst, is really hoping he starts off with their AA team Hartford, because if he starts in Hartford, they play Akron. So that'd be a nice little road trip to be able to go down and see him pitch.
Yeah.
That's the idea. You're supposed to play all those teams at AA, but the Eastern League mixes things up.
Right, and that still doesn't make any sense to me why
No,
the
zero.
Rockies AA team is in Hartford, Connecticut.
Right.
that seems like
because they reshuffled the deck,
Right.
man. 4 years ago, they decided to change everything. They eliminated 40 teams, right? So now it's all over the place. It's wild how that changed.
Yeah.
And I think some of that was warranted. Not to go off a totally different rant here.
Sure.
Like some of those teams should have been exiled from minor league baseball 30 years ago. I won't go into any details, but there are some places I've called games where they should have been shunned 3 decades ago. But there were some that they could have kept. And at the same time, when they reshuffled that deck, a lot of it just didn't make sense. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
What in the world are the Rockies doing over in Hartford?
Hartford, Connecticut,
Yeah.
other side of the country.
Although they're probably happy because I think they were in that Texas league, right, for a while. I think that was their
think so,
AA
yeah.
affiliate. Have you ever seen some of those bus trips?
No.
All over the place, man.
I bet.
I mean, yeah, you're in different time zones. At least when you're in the Eastern League, for the most part, you're in the same time zone.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not so bad.
Right.
But I was glad to see when you tweeted that picture out of him with the picture of
Yeah.
the jersey. That was so cool. And I would imagine that, when the kids see that,
Oh,
they
sure.
think, man, that's really awesome. A guy that was a part of this program 7 years ago, whatever it was, this is where he is right now. That's got to be awesome.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and when he's home in the winter, he'll stop by and say hi and give words of encouragement to all our kids. And like I said, I talk to him almost every day. I've talked to him today. He's doing great, and we're hoping he gets a chance to get to Hartford this year.
Do they pick your brain, Coach, the younger kids, about some of the guys that have been to that next level?
Sure. Oh yeah. I think the biggest question is how different just playing college ball is than high school ball. I was lucky enough to play Division I baseball, and the big thing that we try to get them to understand is high school baseball is fun. This should be a fun experience for you, because if you play at the next level, at this point, I don't care if it's NAIA, JUCO, D3, D2, D1, now it's a job. Now it's a job. Some of the fun goes away once you play at the next level because it is a job.
Yeah.
Like that coaching staff's jobs depend on whether or not you perform, and if you're not going to perform, they're just going to move on.
Yeah.
And they have the resources to move on. Just schedule-wise, where you have 6 a.m. study tables and then classes from 7 to noon, and then weightlifting at 1, batting practice at 2, then the actual practice is 3 to 6, and then there's, you're basically at the field from 12:30 to 7:30 every day. It's much more of a job when you get to the next level, and we're just, we try to let them know that and make them understand that, you should be having fun right now because this is a fun experience. There's nothing like high school sports. Being able to play for your friends, in front of your community, in front of your family, just that camaraderie it's just something special, and that's one of the things that we really try to hone in on.
Yeah, and one of the things you always hear from college coaches is, look, I'm recruiting somebody to take your place every single year.
100%.
And it's up to you to convince me that there's no need for a replacement. It's
100%,
wildly
yes.
different. That mentality is so different, man. Plus, you're playing more games in college, too.
Right.
And I think that takes its toll on you. You're trying to balance class. You're trying to balance extracurriculars, which also always includes athletics, too.
Sure.
It's tough. It's a different mentality in college.
Take an online test on a bus on the way to a road trip or something like that.
Writing a paper on a bus, right?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you guys also had some work done to that outfield. Well, parents got involved, too, to help you guys rebuild the outfield screen, too.
Yeah,
That would be a fun experience.
The parents didn't like it. I mean, I completely appreciate everybody that volunteered to help put it up. We had our outfield windscreen. Usually you try to get 10 years lifespan out of those things. This would have been our 10th year with our old one. If you guys remember, those 2 awful storms that came through at the end of August just ripped the old one to shreds. So part of our fundraising money was to buy a new windscreen, and it came in, and we've had great weather, so that last weekend we had about 7, 8, 9 parents come out, and they hung it, and it looks fantastic.
The whole field looks great, man. I saw the drone picture.
Yeah.
Is it as nice as it looks? I mean, for March, whatever this is, that field looks like it's in great shape.
Yeah, we were just talking with the guys over there. This is by far, because we've had such good weather, this is by far the most we've been able to get outside and practice on the field this early in the season, and it's not even close. We had the rain and the snow this weekend, and we practiced on it today.
Wow.
I mean, that thing just sucks up water. Our grounds crew is fantastic. Our kids do a great job of maintaining it after practices and games. I would love to have turf so you don't have to do all that stuff. But, I really believe that that's got to be one of the best natural grass fields in the Northeast Ohio, if not the state.
One thing that I noticed that you guys started at Amherst was the Halloween baseball game. Have you seen them do
I have
this?
not. I've not
Dude,
seen
so
that.
they all dress up in different costumes and have a baseball game.
Wow.
And it's hilarious,
It's
but at the
such a good
same
time.
time, it's like a trendsetter because now other schools are starting to copy it. But talk about what that means just to the family, to the group, to that culture that you've built.
Yeah, I saw. I mean, I don't remember how long ago we started it, but I just saw on YouTube. Like, I think it was like San Diego State did like a
Okay.
Halloween game. So I was like, I think we can do that.
Yeah.
So the kids that come to our fall workouts, that's always the last thing we do is a Halloween game. We split the teams up as evenly as possible, and the rule for the costume is it can't be obscene.
There's some good ones, man.
Right, but then just you have to be in costume. You have to be able to play baseball in the costume. So run, catch, throw, swing a bat, and the kids get into it.
Yeah.
We play 9 innings or a 2-hour time limit. We get umpires. We play Halloween music. During the game. So it's all themed out. And we usually get really good crowds.
Yeah.
Because it's freshmen through seniors, anybody that's been there in the fall. And it's just a really good time. The kids really enjoy it. I give out candy bars for the best costumes. So, the kids always try to one-up themselves. And it's just a really good time. And if you have a chance to come out, it's fun to watch. Because, some of those costumes, you get like the inflatable ones
Right.
or whatever. And it's a good time.
So we got to put you on the spot.
Sure.
Top 3 best costumes that you've seen since this has
wow.
been going on.
Of all time?
Want me to expand it to top 5? I mean, it's got to be tough to narrow down. You give away candy bars for these things,
I know,
right? Yeah.
I know. Twice, a kid has dressed up as me.
Wow.
They've come
Okay.
as Coach Roz.
Oh, wow.
So those ones have been interesting. See now, the inflatable ones are always fun.
How do they move in those things?
I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Okay.
We've had a really good Willy Wonka costume. We've had like hippies. A kid came dressed as Jesus the one year. So yeah, they get into
They
it.
get
Wait.
creative.
He came in like the toga and the whole
Oh
9
yeah.
yards?
Oh yeah.
How do
Wig,
you move
beard.
in that thing, too? Jeez.
And actually, he made a diving catch in the outfield wearing it.
I hope he was wearing sliding shorts underneath there, man. Yeah.
I don't know.
We're
Probably got a
joined,
nasty strawberry, right? Yeah, it's. Whew.
we're joined live by Matt Rossitano, the head coach of the Amherst Comets. We're at the Baseball Coaches Preview Show live here from Smitty's Place. Matt, thanks for taking some time to sit down and talk to us. Good luck, and we hope to see you guys later on this year.
Absolutely, anytime.
Absolutely. Head
Thank you.
coach of the Amherst Comets, Matt Rossitano, giving us some time here. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get our next interview lined up. Live here from Smitty's, it's the 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview Show on WDLW, the Lorain County Sports Network.
Cruising.
tax, as you still have time to file your income tax. They're home of the $100 e-file. You can call Titan Tax at 440-282-4800. Network Land Title Agency, safeguarding your investment, ensuring peace of mind. Give Judith Glenn and staff a call at Network Land Title Agency. You can visit them online at networklandtitle.com. Legacy Home Finance is our final sponsor of the night. They save you time and money during the home buying process. You can give my good friend Jay Sloan a call. Visit him online, Jay Sloan at legacyhomefinance.com, as we are talking to the coaches from around Lorain County getting ready for the baseball season. We've talked to about maybe about a good dozen of them so far, as we started at 6, and we're about an hour and a half into our show here, and we can actually now start to spotlight some of the award winners from last year. Bull, I know we touched on Martin Palanque, who was Mr. Baseball from last year, and Coach Rossitano says, look, you can't replace a guy like that. But there are some younger guys coming up in that Comet program that are going to do some damage.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we need to spotlight Smitty's for a second here, too.
Yeah.
Despite all the construction going on outside, what a turnout here tonight for this coaches show. And
for sure.
Yeah, why wouldn't you come out here, not only for the Smitty burger, but chicken noodle soup, sloppy Joe, the Monday specials here, man. Smitty's is fantastic. I was very, very happy to see the amount of cars in the parking lot when I pulled in, because, again, with the construction here on Cleveland Street near the Gulf intersection, it can be a little tough to get in here. But that hasn't stopped a lot of people. So a big thumbs up to everybody who stopped in here so far tonight. Hopefully the traffic keeps on coming until we jump off the air in the next hour or so.
Absolutely. We got our next scheduled guest coming up in about 10 minutes. We also might have another phone interview, as one of the coaches just reached out to us that he may be calling the Maple City Ice Bud Light listener line as well. So we're here. We're having a good time. We're eating some Smitty's burgers. We're talking Lorain County baseball, because now that the weather is nice, scrimmages are starting this week, and these coaches that we've been talking to are chomping at the bit.
Yeah, ready to rock and roll. Why wouldn't they be, too? I mean, it's weird how these last 2 winters have just been so mild, but it's allowed these guys to get out there, play a little bit more, or at least scrimmage a little bit more and get ready for the season. It just feels like when you get to maybe that 3rd week of April, that's when you feel like things really begin to ramp up. But maybe that's changing, right? I don't know what's causing the weather to be so nice so early in the year. Global warming. I mean, whatever it is, man, it's working for these coaches, because not only do they get a chance to play more often, they can get outside, they can practice more, right? We've heard a handful of coaches at least say that so far. You know, you get so tired of being inside. It's just a different feel, right? Yeah. The atmospheric conditions are wildly different when you're inside as opposed to getting outside. You just don't get the same feel. You know, it's nice to have the indoor facilities where you can practice and you can work on certain things, but it's just different when you get outside. And it's good to hear these coaches are getting a chance to get their kids outside. And look, not just get used to playing outdoors to kind of take everything in, but you're going to play in 40-degree weather. You're going to play in 30s and some snow. You're going to play in adverse conditions. You have to get used to that. And this is a great time to get used to that, because, look, when you play those teams from down south a little bit later on, that's an advantage if you're from the north, man, because down there they're freezing cold. They're wearing 17 different layers. It's tough to throw. It's tough to swing in those conditions. But up here, you're used to it. It's not so bad.
And we've seen the change in the fields, the construction of them, Bull. A lot of them now are all going right to the turf field so that they can play longer. You heard Coach Scola early on in the show said, man, we love it. We play at Crusher Stadium. We don't ever get rained out there.
Yeah.
So you're seeing more and more schools being able to put in the turf infield or even the all-turf field, because it just lets you play that much longer.
Yeah, Coach Turnus mentioned the same thing. I had no idea they were putting the turf in the infield at the pipe yard, but that's a wonderful addition. And it just gives you a huge advantage, because you can play so many more games that way.
Yeah.
I mean, if it rains at 3 o'clock and you're scheduled to play at 4, well, it doesn't rain too hard, you're fine. You can still play, right? Whereas if you go to other places, it rains hard enough. You got to get the turf out there, the drying agent. You got to dry up certain areas of the infield. It just takes a while.
You bring up a good point, man, because we got to give credit to where credit's due, and that's the baseball coaches, because those guys are out there 2-3 hours before the game starts to make sure they can even play. There's not a grounds crew that's out there taking care of the field. It's these coaches. And I've seen it firsthand. I was covering Clearview and Lorain, and who's out there? But Coach Pete, though, and Coach Brad Turner is back here, and they're shoveling, they're filling dirt, they're filling holes, and they're making sure that they can get these games played. So it's good to see the transition to the turf fields and just giving the coaches their due, because football coaches don't have to do that.
Right.
Basketball coaches don't have to do that. But these baseball and softball coaches, they're out there braving it in the elements, trying to get the field ready.
Make the push for turf fields, man, so coaches can coach, right?
That's
You
it,
don't have to be a head groundskeeper, nothing like that. You can just get out there and coach. You're right. It makes a big difference, and not just getting ready before the game, but let's just say you get a couple of innings in. You got to wait out that rainstorm. Then you're out there until 3 o'clock in the afternoon trying to get the field ready so you can actually finish that game, because you got to get games in where you can.
Yep. So our next guest is ready. He quietly sat down right next to us. It's Nick Ruiz from Oberlin, as he is the baseball coach joining us here today. Coach, thanks so much for giving us some time. How so far has the preseason been going?
Preseason's been going really, really well. We're going to actually have the numbers have another JV team.
Wow.
So 2 years in a row, we're really excited about that. And really just starting to take our younger guys to that next level. We put a lot of freshmen and sophomores out there last year, and now they have a year of varsity experience under their belt. And it's just been leaps and bounds in this offseason.
So let's talk about the youth program. How is that kick-starting and starting to lead up to your level?
I mean, it's basically a feeder program. It's going really well. We have great numbers from our younger ages coming all the way up, and we are behind the scenes starting to work out some more intentional ways to begin really bettering our baseball community. And this will come through the high school as well. Yeah. So we're looking at a joint way to do that.
Who are some of the guys this year that you're going to be relying on heavily?
Oh, man. We're going to be relying on Julian Anderson, or we call him Juju. We got Drew Walter, Mason Rosenthal, Reed Emmerich. A lot of really, really good talent there. Very, very versatile players. I mean, absolutely love to see it.
I was going to say, it's all names that you hear when you're covering Oberlin sports, whether it's football or basketball.
Yes, sir.
How much does them being multi-sport athletes transition on the baseball field?
It transitions really, really well. They're hungry. On top of that, just like the skills, I mean, everything just kind of intertwines with each other. You can pick and piece from each different sport that they play, and you can see that translate on the highest level for the baseball field for us.
Taking the record out of the equation from a year ago, what kinds of lessons do you think that the kids learned, and what were some of the bright spots, too? Because no matter what the record is, there's always good and bad. What was some of the good that came out of that last year?
The good was the kids bought in. And they're really, really bought in. Honestly, the record doesn't faze our boys at all. They're hungry, and they're fully prepared to put everything into it to not go through that again. And that, as like building a culture, is really, really powerful. We got a good group, a young group that they feel that they've learned, that they have experience under their belt now, and they're ready to just keep getting better. And that's just been our mindset since day one, and we see that on a daily basis with our boys. Overall, though, I mean, we saw a lot of bright things. We saw individuals beginning to shine in not only skill-wise, but as young men, as leaders, and starting to grow up and starting to build each other up. And I think that's really powerful for where we're trying to go.
It's powerful in so many different ways, because I think it says a lot about you as the coach. It says a lot about the group, too. The fact that maybe you didn't get as many wins as you wanted, but for a second straight year here, you've got a JV team that you can field, and that goes a long ways toward building a culture, a positive culture where the kids really buy in. In what ways do you think the kids have really kind of adapted to that and really bought into that culture to help this thing grow?
I mean, we see it on a daily basis just from trying to help younger guys learn different skills and build their own baseball IQ. I mean, we are very, very fortunate to have the numbers we've had, but we do have a lot of guys who, this is maybe their second year really experiencing it at a high level. And we have these guys who are around the same age but already have the experience under their belt, pulling these guys up. And so what we're really seeing with this is we're seeing a full culture that is all kind of going in the right direction, and it's not just the coaches who are trying to hit on certain things, it's the kids, and that's the powerful part about it.
What do you think some of the strengths are going to be this year for your team?
I think versatility. You're going to see a lot of different lineups from us this year, and adaptability. We got guys who are going to be playing all over the place any given week. And so I think that's going to be a big strength. On top of that, I think you're going to see less of the bad, honestly. I think that's the best way to put it. We're going to be cleaning up our game a lot more, and I think our pitching is making a very, very big leap, thanks to our coach, Coach Ethan Wiblin, in the right direction to ensure we are adding good things, not bad.
What was one thing that you seen coming into this year that you wanted to clean up?
Just that baseball IQ and comfortability on the field. We want the kids to really just feel comfortable and trust themselves and trust each other. And that was something we're really starting to see. Our guys, they don't really get on each other. Instead, something goes wrong and they look and they're, all right, what are you going to do next? And that's, baseball's a game of mistakes. It's a game of seconds. And starting to slowly but surely clean that up, I think it's going to lead to a lot of really bright things.
You guys playing at the college?
No, unfortunately, we are not. We are over at Hamilton Fields by Splash Zone currently.
Okay.
But we are, as we speak, renovating the field behind the high school for practice purposes only as of now. But making some slow but sure moves.
Well, and it's interesting, too, because we've talked a lot about, the surfaces and how tough that could be to play, especially early on in the year. Has that been challenging for you guys in the early stages of I guess we're not in the spring yet. We're almost there, right? Got a few more days, but the late stages of winter?
Yeah, it's definitely been challenging. We haven't been able to get outside nearly as much as we've wanted to, which has put a big damper on it. But, looking outside right now, I'm telling you right now, right before I walked in here, I messaged our boys, and I was like, be ready to go outside, fighting at the bits.
Well, and I think that goes a long ways. When you talked about changing the culture, look, the fact that they want to get out there says a lot. And I'm sure you mentioned you're working behind the scenes. There's got to be a way to connect the guys that you currently have to that youth program, right? Mm-hmm. Just that whole cyclical process is how this thing works, right? To get the kids at the youth level to see what's going on up here and say, wow, that's kind of cool. So maybe when they get to this level, it's not just their second year playing baseball.
Mm-hmm. No, 110%. And we're starting to bridge. We started bridging that gap immediately when I came on. I am very fortunate. 2 of my varsity assistant coaches also teach with me at Langston Middle School at Oberlin. So, the guys, they see us preparing to go to the high school, and our middle schoolers are chomping at the bits, begging to come to our practices and things like that. The excitement is back, the buy-in is back, and it's not just for our youth program, it's now full circle.
What are some of the challenges you face with guys who have only been doing this for a couple of years? I think it's interesting, too, because for a long time they kept telling me, I'm not so sure that baseball is going to have the popularity in the next 5 or 6 years. Well, clearly you've got kids that hadn't played much before, if at all. And they're into this thing the second or third year around. They seem to like something about it, right? What is it that you think these kids really enjoy about this that keeps them coming out?
I think in general it's the game. When you really start to learn the game begins to slow down. You begin to see subtle, small things that to the untrained eye you don't always see, and our kids are starting to see that. They're starting to get excited to watch baseball games just on TV, which I seldomly happens anymore sometimes. On top of that, I think it's the culture we're building. The kids know us, the kids know our names, and they hear from each other how this baseball program is looking, how it's progressing, the vibe of it. And the kids are beginning to just buy in and just want to try, even if they don't feel confident. They're like, I want to be a part of that. And that's why we're starting to see the success of these numbers.
Who's the kid that you think is going to take a leap this year?
You hear his name all the time, and that's going to be Julian Anderson, as well as Drew Walter. They both had good seasons last year, batting above 300. Wow. Our 2 best starters are on the mound, but I think you're going to see a real big leap just outright this year. And we're already seeing that just in this offseason, especially with Julian. He is becoming such a well-versed leader. And when I say that, I don't mean just with leading by example and leading his peers. He's taken that role full circle for our entire baseball program, and to have known him since he was an 8th grader when I had him online for COVID, and to see how far he's come so far, and now going into his junior season, that boy's hungry. That boy is hungry. And same with Drew Walter. Drew Walter is, he's a freshman last year, and he batted above 300. He was our go-to pitcher last year on the mound, and sometimes you see the struggles and things like that, but he just embraced it. He took it for what it was, and he's ready to now take what he's learned and put that full circle for our program.
That brings me to my next question. With some of the struggles the other programs have had, are you finding the kids with a chip on their shoulder to get this thing turned around?
Yes, sir, and we love it, and I think that's the community itself. Being a part of that, we're all ready. We all have that chip on the shoulder.
You see it on social media. The parents are upset. They want to get Oberlin back to where it needs to be. And for so long, it's just been down in the dumps. And, we're hoping, too, that Oberlin can get back to where they need to be.
It's unfortunate, but you have a lot of great people in a lot of great places. And you're really starting to see the community come together around this. And really, truly starting to push this narrative that, we're going to be back. And it's, it's been unfortunate in the past, but that's not nearly the mindset anymore. The mindset is we're going to get better every day, and we're going to change it. And, powerful thing for our kids, the bottom line is they want to do it. They know that no one else can do it but them, and they've taken that responsibility, and they're ready to do so.
I want to circle back to the Walter kid for just a second. You talked about all the things that he did as a freshman last year. Let's stick with what he does on the mound. In what ways do you think he's grown this offseason, and why do you think he's going to be so much better as a sophomore this year?
I mean, just cutting down small mistakes, not giving up as much balls as what we've been seeing over his command reports from our bullpens during the offseason. And I just think it's the experience. As a freshman going up there against majority seniors and juniors, it's nerve-wracking. Yeah. It's nerve-wracking. And, that's something I can really talk to, though, because, I watch him have these conversations with our freshmen, with our sophomores, and he's like, no, it's scary, but you got to be just ready to just let what happens happen, and just what are you going to do after? But overall, I just think it's those small mistakes beginning to get cleaned up. What we saw a lot of really positive last year was, he never quit. Never without a doubt quit, and now all we're doing is we're excelling upon that.
You plan on keeping him in the rotation? Is he coming out of the pen for you guys, or how do you guys have that profile?
No. He'll be in the rotation.
Okay. Well, then as a sophomore, clearly he's got a lot more room to grow. But what is his profile as a starting pitcher? Is he throwing just fastballs for you guys? Does he have a few different pitches in the arsenal?
Yes, he has a few pitches in the arsenal. He's got a little bit of heat, but he's very, very accurate. And he's really beginning to dot up the strike zone, hit his excuse me, I apologize. He's really starting to hit his spots, and we're just seeing leaps and bounds with that. He's feeling more confident in his other pitches just besides for his fastball and your usual go-tos. He's starting to feel a lot more confidence in his off-speed, his curve, and other pitches.
But that's all part of the development, right? Because, when you're growing up and you're playing Little League and you get to junior high, whatever the case may be, you can blow kids away with gas, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's when you start to get some confidence in those secondary pitches that you really start to take that next step up. So what have you seen from those secondary pitches that has you excited as the coach of this kid?
It just changes the batter's entire mindset. He's able to just pump the zone as quick as possible, as you had just kind of said, but then he's able to take that momentum, any type of thought process away from the batter, and we're really excited to see that in a full game, not just sitting here, simulating things and things like that.
How has scheduling gone so far this year? Are you matched up evenly to where maybe you're not so outmatched from the beginning?
Yeah, our athletic director, Bryce Johnson, him and I collaborated a lot in the off season, and our out-of-conference games are a lot more better matched for us. And we're really confident with that, but we don't want to just compete out of conference. We want to compete day in, day out, period. And that's what our kids want to do. That's what our kids tried to do last year, and they did do well. But we're really starting to make that turn where it doesn't matter if it's out of conference. It doesn't matter what school we're playing. We're going in with the same mindset each and every game.
What are some things you can take from that Firelands program, who is the top of the LCA, and maybe bring down to Oberlin?
I would say it's just about the structure that they have in place up there. They've continuously had a really, really great program under Ransom. On top of that, it's just when we look at them, it is something we strive to be. It's a clean baseball team. It's a team that it doesn't matter who they put in what position. They feel confident. The kids feel confident, and their coaches feel confident in them. And so, like, that's what we've been really trying to push. Last year, we felt like we were going to try and put our best product out every single time. Now we're starting to look, well, if we put this guy in, how are we going to surround him for success? And now making that mindset change, I think, is going to lead to a lot of success this year.
It blows me away. You actually have kids in that youth program, not just showing up to games, showing up to practices for you guys. And it's got to build a pretty cool atmosphere for the varsity guys who are practicing. They see the kids in that youth program showing up. That's got to make practice a little more intense, doesn't it?
Oh, it definitely does. Our practices are intense day in and day out. But I'll tell you now, what everybody is kind of most excited for is to be back at Hamilton, home game number one, when we have the full community around us. That's the atmosphere I absolutely loved and adored last year, and I think it's only going to get bigger. And that feeds into our guys. It makes them hungry to impress, but it makes them want to play with that chip on their shoulder and bring it back for the people who are around them there to support them.
Joining us now is Nick Ruiz, the head coach of the Oberlin Phoenix, giving us the breakdown on the 2024 baseball season coming up next. What are your expectations for this year? What's the goal?
The goal is to compete day in, day out, no matter what happened the day before. That's the goal. But goal number one, we have a list of goals. And, you got to start somewhere. That first goal is get that first win in a few years under our belt, and then it's off to the races from there.
All right, Coach, thanks for giving us some time tonight. We look forward to talking to you in the future and seeing exactly how this Oberlin team does this year.
I appreciate it, guys.
Nick Ruiz joining us here on the Smitty's 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview Show. And we're going to get our next guest ready. We're going to take a quick break here from Smitty's, and then we'll get another coach lined up here. It's the 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview Show with Dave and Bull, live on WDLW. back to the 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview Show live from Smitty's Place in Elyria. It's where friends go to meet. We're scarfing down some Smitty's burgers. It's Bull, it's Dave, and we are here talking to the coaches from around Lorain County. We want to thank our sponsors, Brentwood Golf Club, Titan Tax, Network Land Title Agency, and my good friend Legacy Home Finance. Jay Salone will take care of you if you're looking to get a new house. And right now we're going to hop on to our Maple City Ice Bud Light listener line as we have a coach giving us some time right now. It's the head coach of the Vermilion Sailors, Mr. Jeff Keck, joining us on the line. Coach, how you doing?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Coach, thank you for giving us some time. So tell us a little bit about how you've been preparing for this season and how it's been going so far.
Well, I mean, it's always fun preparing for a new year. I mean, you got a whole different dynamics of a team and get different kids. But this year we've got a lot of returning players. It's been a lot of fun. Last year at the end of the year, these kids, they came on strong. We were a very relatively young team, and they're coming back with a mission. They want to achieve some high goals this year. So it's been a lot of fun. And we get the basketball players and wrestlers back. So, a lot of those guys do both. So, it's been, and that's fine. I mean, I love the kids playing every sport, but they've been back for the last few days, and it's been fun. It's been a good preseason here, and they've been working hard. So the next phase of it is the scrimmages.
Who are be leading you guys this year?
Well, I think Riley Kearns. Probably I got two seniors on the team. Riley Kearns is a kid that last year came on strong as a pitcher. I think I got to believe he's one of the top pitchers in the area. He had 105 strikeouts last year, came about 3 short of breaking the school record, had a 1.6 ERA. He's committed to play at Wittenberg, so he'll be a number 1 pitcher. The other senior is A.J. Gerber. Gerber he pitched for us last year, played some third base, had some big games at the plate. RBI-wise, he had 18 RBIs, led our team with RBIs last year, and he had a pretty good year at the plate, and I think he'll probably wind up playing third base. Cody Schwartz was one of our staples last year in the infield. He was a 325 hitter, and he played shortstop, pitches. He'll be our number 2 pitcher. He had a good year last year on the mound. Had a 3.3 ERA with 55 strikeouts. He was only a sophomore last year. He's gotten bigger and stronger, so we're expecting big things from him. He'll be one of our top pitchers. We got some kids back. Logan Peterson was first team all-conference not all-conference, but all-county last year, and he's honorable mention all-Northwest District. He was our center fielder, batted about 305. He has good speed, had a ton of stolen bases, and had some RBIs. Those guys are they built a little resume for themselves last year, so we're looking forward to them, taking it to the next level.
Coach, earlier in the interview, you had mentioned that you have some basketball players and some wrestlers getting ready to join the team as well. Talk about that transition, about how long does that take, and what are some things you're looking for from those guys as they try and get themselves into baseball shape over the next couple of weeks?
Well, I mean, it's kind of it's not as difficult. I mean, we've been inside a lot, as you know. I mean, this year actually we've been outside more than usual because the weather's been pretty good. They've been working hard at it, and it's just a matter of getting their arms back in shape and getting some swings in the cage and stuff and catching up. So that's going to be the challenge, but they'll do it. They'll be fine. It's still early.
And also, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention congratulations were in order, even though it was a little while ago, but 500 career wins. That's nothing to sneeze at, Coach. And, that goes a long ways with the things that you've done at that Vermilion baseball program. But, talk about that moment, how much that meant to you to have the kids there and some of the guys come back that you've coached in the past to be a part of that milestone win for you.
Well, like I always say, I mean, I've been very fortunate for a lot of reasons. I've had I've had good players, and I've had good coaches, and I've had good parents, and I've had an awesome coach's wife, and that's the reason I've been able to do it for so long. So, I mean, it's all of that. You know, it's not so much me. It's just that, you know, I've been fortunate to be around a program where, you know, I've been around great people, and that's a blessing for me, and that's why that's why that's happened for me.
What are some of the expectations for this year's Sailor team, Coach?
Well, like I said, I think, you know, a couple years ago, I think 3 years ago now, we were riding on top of the world. We were in the Final Four, and, you know, we had won the league for 4 consecutive years, and I think in the last couple of years we've been kind of, I don't want to use the term rebuilding because every year is a different year, a different makeup of kids. But I think last couple of years we've kind of built ourselves back up to that point where we're going to be at a level where we can compete again. We played a lot of young guys last year. They were talented, but they were inexperienced at the varsity level, and I think they gained a lot of experience. They understand, you know, what has to happen. A lot of them have played on good travel teams in the summer. They've done all the right things as far as getting bigger and stronger, and you know, they've just developed into what I think we can be, you know, back at the level we want to be at in terms of competing for, you know, conference championship and making a tournament run and that kind of thing. So, you know, let's just hope that happens. But I think these kids are going to be, you know, they're awesome kids, and I think they're going to be the kids that are going to, you know, give everything they have to make that happen.
Seems like versatility is also one of your strengths as well. Would you agree with that, Coach? Just hearing some of your comments talking about how you have guys that can do so many different things. You know, the two guys at the top of your rotation, I think, are a pretty good example of that. You have guys that will be asked to fill a lot of different roles for you. Is it safe to say that versatility is also one of your strengths?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think every coach you talk to tonight probably says the same thing. High school baseball, you know, you're going to have, I mean, guys do it. Guys are, you know, pitchers only, but very, very few times can you afford to have a guy in high school be a pitcher only. You know, if he's a good defensive player and if he can help you, you know, offensively, and so you have to use guys the right way and make sure you're taking care of their arms and all that stuff. So, you know, it's just part of it. It's a good challenge.
Coach, tell our listeners about the Sandusky Bay Conference and how they fare in the baseball side of things.
Well, this year we're in the Bay Division this year. The first year we were in the SBC, it was the old-fashioned SBC where there was only 8 teams, and then we were in the Bay Division for a few years, probably I don't know, I lose track, but I think 3 or 4 years maybe, and then 2 years in a row we were in the Lake Division, which was the bigger school division, and now we're back in the Bay Division. But I think the SBC, whether you're in the Bay or the Lake, I mean, it's good baseball. I mean, we're playing. I mean, Edison's in the Bay Division, and Edison's been in the state championship game in the last couple of years, and they were, I think, made a big run last year. I think they might have been in the state Final Four last year. I mean, they've been there and they've won the league. Margretta's is a good team. They have a good tradition. Willard is going to be a good team. They're real senior dominated. Huron is going to be good. So I mean, it's going to be it's going to be tough. I mean, it doesn't really matter in the SBC what division you're in. You're still playing good baseball teams. So you know, you got to be on your top of your game every time out.
Coach Jeff Keck joining us from the Vermilion Sailors. Coach, thank you so much for giving us some time on short notice. We appreciate you giving us a call, and we want to wish you guys good luck, and we look forward to watching some Vermilion Sailor baseball.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for your time. I appreciate what you guys do.
Absolutely, Coach. That's head coach Jeff Keck from the Vermilion Sailors as we are getting ready for our next guest as he is here live from Smitty's Place in Elyria. That's Jordan Connell, head coach of the Elyria Pioneers. Jordan, thanks so much for stopping by, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
So tell us about the scrimmage today. That's why you're a little bit late. How'd you guys do?
Actually, I canceled today.
Did you
with the snow.
Okay.
It did get canceled today.
So tell us about how the preparation for this season's been going so far.
Last year was rough. First year, you kind of have high expectations, but you just kind of hope you get through. So this year, this offseason, we took a lot of just getting back to the basics and just learning how to compete every day again.
So this is your second year now at Elyria as the head guy.
Yeah.
You able to take a breath now and kind of get what you want to get developed over there?
Yes and no. We definitely are doing things the right way now, but as the head coach, you always have that little bit of doubt. Like, are we doing enough, or are we doing it the right way? But we're a lot better.
Who are some of the guys this year that you're going to be leaning on?
We have Isaac Ramos. He's a 4-year starter. Finley commit. He's been an animal for us over his 4-year career, so he'll be someone we're leaning on. Nico Spicer, 3-year starter. He's a Lake Erie commit, so we're relying on his arm. And Derek Rigger, he's came on last year as our third pitcher last year. He was lights out, ground balls everywhere. So we have pretty much a 3-headed monster going into the year pitching-wise, so we're looking excited to that.
So sometimes it takes a while to see growth. Not only as a coach, I think it takes the kids a while to see where a program's headed. Clearly, you guys are doing a lot of great things because you guys gave Avon all they could handle the tournament last year. Had that 4-run lead, almost came away with an upset win. And as heartbreaking as that loss was, sometimes you can learn some things from your team in a situation like that. What do you think you and the kids learned from that experience?
I think I definitely took that one the hardest. I put a lot of the blame on myself for the final decision I made. But, I mean, you live and learn. It was my first year. I knew there would be the learning curve. Sometimes you don't want the learning curve to be in a playoff game. But, I mean, like we learned, we're definitely a stronger team, a more competitive team, a closer team. It'll all pay off this year.
And it seems like when the season kind of comes to a close like that, the kids are chomping at the bit. They're ready to rock and roll for that next season. How do you think that instance has really fueled the kids for this season?
In the past, we're rolling probably from September to May, and we're burnt out by about February. This year, I haven't seen that in any aspect. Everybody just wants to come in and compete and work every day, and it's actually a beautiful thing to watch.
You're listening to WDLW Lorain as we're live for the 2024 Baseball Coaches Preview Show. We're joined right now by the Elyria Pioneers head coach, Jordan Connell, as he's telling us a little bit about his team. Who are some of the younger guys that might be taking on a bigger role this year?
We have a sophomore, Maurice Stone. He's going to be a Division I pitcher here soon. He took the biggest growth I've seen in a baseball player over an offseason, from being immature to not knowing when to shut his mouth to being the strongest in the weight room and the fastest on the court and doing all the right things and throwing strikes his whole bullpen. So I definitely look for him to take a big jump. Nate Taylor, he got hurt. He was a big guy first last year, but he got hurt. He's back, we'll say about 90% right now, but his 90% it's amazing. So we're going to be relying on him to be our leadoff guy this year, be our shortstop, come throw a couple innings here and there. He's going to be relied on. And then not really a young guy, but a senior that's just worked his butt off in this program from day one is Alex Klotz. Whatever he's done or whatever we asked him to do, he's done. Last year he went to the outfield for us. He's a shortstop and second baseman. It's not heard of. They don't like to do it.
Yeah.
But he did it because he wanted to play and he wanted to do what was best for the team. And this year he's going to pitch for us, and he's became one of our better pitchers. So it's just one of those things where hard work does pay off in some aspect.
Sounds like pitching is one of the primary strengths of this team. You talked about a couple of guys that are going on to play at the next level.
Yes.
You mentioned the Stone kid, a future Division I possible commit too. What about this pitching staff excites you? Sounds like you guys have a nice little balance of upper and underclassmen there.
I think we compete with the younger kids that's coming in. We have a good core group of younger kids, and then with what comes the experience that we have. We had a lot of experience pitching last year, but I always say we're a little bit deeper this year. I do think our pitching is going to be our strong point. I don't think there should be a team that can compete with us as long as our pitching is A plus, as it should be. So I'm excited to see what the pitchers can do. It's a tough balance in practice, saying are we not hitting good enough? Is our pitchers that good? But it's a good competitive balance.
To stick with the Stone kid again, what are some things that you've seen from him that make you think he's going to pitch at the next level, not just at the next level, but be a Division I kid? You've talked about his maturity.
Yeah.
What are some of the other things that you see from him that have you excited?
His command. You don't find too many sophomores that can come in and command the strike zone like he does. He gets down 3-1 in the count. He's going to give you 4 straight strikes or 3 straight strikes. you think he's having a bad warm-up in the bullpen, he's going to come in and show you that it was just a fluke in the warm-up. He didn't miss the off-season weightlifting. He didn't miss the off-season open gym. He's dedicated to being better. We kind of had the talk, if this is what you want to do, this is what it's going to take, and he's exceeded my expectations and beyond. So.
The catcher is who I wanted to spotlight, Bull, Ramos.
Yes.
He's got a cannon behind the plate, and the kid has a stick.
Yes.
So just tell our listeners a little bit about Ramos, who's going to the next level.
Isaac Ramos, he's a 4-year starter behind the plate at a varsity level. You don't find that in any capacity as the catcher. He's the leader of this team. He's a 3-year captain. That's something else you don't find at a high school level. Just a kid that competes day in and day out to be better at what he does, and on the field, in the classroom, he's a 4.4 student.
Wow.
All honors classes. He takes everything he does serious. He's working with the little kids. He's teaching them the nuances of catching. He's coachable. Everything you want in Isaac Ramos or in a kid, you'll get out of Isaac. I'm not looking forward to getting ready for this year after this year.
Well, and I think we talked about the pitching staff and how the expectations are pretty high. Well, a lot of the success that you guys expect to have this year will also fall on his shoulder because he's the battery mate of every guy that you just mentioned. So how much of the success of that pitching staff do you think falls on the shoulders of Ramos?
Well, a lot of people don't know this but he's going to be our ace this year. You don't find too many people that can come in and be your star catcher and your ace, but that's the work he put in.
Wow.
He kind of took a arm injury last year, so he kind of got pushed away from pitching. But that wasn't our plans last year to have him pitch. But this year, he took his arm serious. So he's going to be our ace this year pitching. Catching-wise, he controls the run game. When you have a catcher that can control a run game, and it's a beautiful thing. Coaches, there will be coaches that will try him, but it won't be too often because they do understand. That is, if you steal, 9 out of 10 times he will throw you out. And I don't want to sound cocky or anything. That's just how good of a catcher he is. Every college coach I've talked to said he has a plus arm when it comes to throwing people out. So it's exciting to watch him control his game, every aspect of the game.
Seems like in most cases, the coaches will call the pitch. Do you trust Ramos enough to call pitches?
Oh, he is calling pitches.
He is calling.
Yeah,
okay,
that is the next step of his growth. He called the Avon game last year in the playoff game, and he was amazing. I don't think I could have called a better game than what he called there. So we're going to stick with it. He knows what's going on. His knowledge of the game it's above a lot. It's almost too much for a high school level because he's overthinking, and he knows what a pitcher should throw in a certain situation, and that's what he's looking for. But the pitcher doesn't have the same IQ as him, so it kind of gets him in some trouble sometimes. But
yeah, especially at the high school level, right? Yeah,
but it'll work out.
What are the expectations you feel for your team this year? How do you think they'll do?
The ultimate goal is to win the conference. You don't think you want to go into a year without that being your ultimate goal. But one of the things we want to take the main goal out of it. We just want to compete every day. We compete. We should be in a lot of games this year, and that's the ultimate goal, is just to compete, win or lose. As long as we're competing and doing everything at a high level, we can live with the results.
What did you take away in your first season in SWC as far as baseball goes last year?
There's no off days. There may be a game where you see this team is in a slump, but at the end of the day, you're going to go in and they're going to be ready to fight. And that's just not even just the SWC. That's high school baseball in general. I got a rude awakening last year thinking we can take a game off here and start some kids that shouldn't be starting, or a game off here, when every game is important. So this year we're going in with the mindset of every game is a championship game, so we have to approach it like that.
Days like today are the epitome of just what a challenge it is of coaching up in this area. Just because it's so hard. You think you're going to scrimmage one day, and then you get snow, and then it melts, and then you can't get out there. Talk about some of those challenges, just how hard that is, not knowing when you can and can't play, but also you can and can't practice.
Well, the good thing is we didn't have a field last year, so this is minimal to what we had to deal with last year. With the big rain we had last week, we were able to get on the next day. Our field is, for the most part, we can get on it. But just days like today, you just kind of got to plan for it. I knew there was a 90% chance we weren't getting outside today, but you just have to have in the back of your head what you want to do if we can't get outside, and just adapt to it. These kids do a good job of adapting to it, so I guess as long as they adapt, we can do anything.
So what kinds of things do you do then when you can't go outside? Because everybody talks about, there are only certain things you can do when you're inside, right? Like when you're looking out into the gym, right? Yeah. You look at the bleachers, the sight lines are just so different.
No, it's definitely
They're
different.
so different.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the batter side, but everything. I mean, as a first baseman, taking throws from the third baseman, That's so hard
It's
to
100%.
simulate when you're indoors. So,
No.
so what kinds of things do you guys do?
We like to do a lot of the infield, just fundamental infield stuff, but I kind of got away from that this year. And whenever we're inside, we're just sitting in the cage. I feel like that was where we needed to excel this year a little bit better than we did last year. So, I mean, defense will come when we get outside. It's easy to build on defense, but we can't be behind on hitting like we were last year, or else we'll be in the same situation as we were last year.
So how good do you feel about how they've been hitting the cage so far?
We have good days, we have bad days, but the good thing is if we were where we needed to be, there would be no reason to come into practice every day. So it's exciting to come in and just every day is a new experience with them. Every day is a new challenge, and it's truly fun to be around these group of kids. They make this day so much better around.
You taking any trips or tournaments coming up for the season?
We are going to Tennessee for our spring break trip. We're playing in the Central Invitational. There'll be some good teams around there, but we do expect to go out there and handle business and compete for a championship out there as well.
How is that used as a team building experience as well?
Yeah, that is exactly what it's used for. We want to get out there. We're taking 5 of our JV kids as well, our varsity kids. It's just, I always say this group is oddly close, and for the most part, teams that are close, they'll win more than the kids with the skills. So going out there, being close, and we're going to get even closer out there, I think it's going to be a very effective thing for us.
I agree with that statement.
Well, you're going to Tennessee to play, too, so you guys are used to the gym hops, right?
Yeah.
Playing indoors. Now you get a chance to go down and play in the sunshine in Tennessee. It's going to be a lot different.
I've been checking the weather. It's going to be like 80 degrees out there. I'm so excited.
But it feels like unless you have a turf field at home, that's kind of like something you have to do. If you want to get X amount of games in, you kind of have to go south for as many days as you possibly can. Otherwise, it feels like you're behind the 8 ball. Then you get to that first week of April, and you've maybe played a handful of games. So going down south, it just seems like something you have to do.
Yeah, sometimes you go down south and there's teams that's already played 10, 15 games already, and you're just like, how? Like it's March 25th. How do we already did this? But I think it'll work out for us in the general. I'm kind of against. I know people aren't going to like. I'm kind of against turf fields for baseball guys, but being in Northeast Ohio, it's one of those things where it's
a necessity.
You kind of have to, but baseball is played on grass. So either way you get it, as long as we're playing, I don't care.
Well, and I mean, look, there's an advantage for those teams down south. There's no doubt about
100%.
that. And I mean, when you're playing against teams, though, that have played 10 or 15 games already, there's also a learning curve there, too, right? You can take something from the teams that you're playing against.
100%.
What are some things you expect to take from that experience?
It's just things are ran differently in different states. Unless you go to a different state with a different sport, you just think Ohio football or Ohio baseball is how it's ran. Those states are ran completely different in every aspect. It's just different to see how they prepare. It's different to see the type of players they have. It's awesome to talk to other coaches and how they do their off-season stuff. It's just connecting with other coaches. Like we were just talking over there, we're not enemies as coaches. We're all coming together and trying to form something bigger than what we are. We just want to win baseball games with the team that we have, and at the end of the day, share with each other. So I mean, it all goes hand in hand.
And get your kids some exposure, get the sport some exposure, and have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Coach Jordan Connell giving us some time from Elyria. Coach, thanks so much. Good luck this season, and let us know how that Tennessee trip goes.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Jordan Connell stopping by and giving us some time. And we'll get our next and last guest on right now as head coach of the Midview Middies. Ryan Morgan is our last guy here in Smitty's place. So we'll get him on while he gets his microphone and stuff going. Coach Ryan Morgan from the Midview Middies. Coach, thanks for giving us some time. How's everything going down there in Grafton?
It's going well. Thanks for having me, guys. That Smitty Burger was fantastic. So can't complain about that.
So how's preparation been heading into the opening day?
It's been going pretty well. We've been battling with each other right now, so we get our first live scrimmage on Wednesday against Keystone, so that'll be a good kind of test to see where we're at and stuff like that, see what we need to work on leading up to our opener against Amherst. So
how are the kids feeling as far as preparation goes? You said that they're tired of playing themselves. They're ready for Keystone.
Yeah, I mean, we've been pretty fortunate to, be able to get outside a number of times, inter-squad scrimmages and stuff like that, but they're sick of being around each other all the time and stuff like that, so they want some, obviously to compete against other teams. So, I mean, they're itching for it. So hopefully Mother Nature doesn't want to play any other tricks on us, so we can actually do that on Wednesday. So
We were talking with Coach Rossitano about this a little bit earlier. You know, when you have a guy in your program, even if it was 20 years ago, who went on to have some major success, it goes a long ways in order to get the kids to kind of buy in. And with Ryan Farabin, you know, of course, he's still hanging around the area. I mean, he had a great career, not only in the big leagues, he went overseas and he played. Most recently, a couple of years ago, played with the Crushers, reinvented his game. You know, how big of a role does that play when you're trying to get these kids to buy in, you know, knowing that somebody came through that program that had so much success?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's huge for our guys. I mean, we've been fortunate enough to have two guys, him and Eric Lauer both. I mean, to say that you have two MLB guys that have come through your program, a lot of guys, you know, try and be like that. You know, one that comes to mind is Spencer Mueller, lefty for us, Joey Melendez, again, another lefty. So they kind of like idolize Ryan and Eric. They kind of want to be like that. They want to take that next step from the high school level to the college level and then hopefully, you know, further past that. So, you know, Ryan's been awesome with our program. He always gives back. He's come back and talked to our guys and stuff like that, you know, just trying to help them out. So it's been a huge asset having him in our program and helping us out and stuff. So.
You know, I totally whiffed on Lauer. I don't know how in the world I forgot about him, but
it's
I
all
totally
good.
because he just got picked up the other day by somebody, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Was it the Pirates?
I think it is the Pirates, yeah.
I swear I just saw you got picked up. I'm almost 100% sure it was the Pirates. Yeah, I saw that transaction.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, having those two guys, like I said, to come through Grafton and come through Midview, it's huge. I mean, that was a big selling point for me when I took over. So, it's pretty special. So,
who are some of the seniors that you're going to lean on heavy this year?
Yeah, so we got a big senior class. I mean, we have 9 this year. Wow. All of them have varsity experience before. So, I mean, if you go around, you know, you have Michael Lopez behind the dish, Zach Jockel over at third, Teo Lopez at short. You have Ethan Elbert coming off a season-ending injury last year, so having him back. Joey Melendez is a phenomenal lefty for us. David Moore, he's committed to go to Akron. I already said David, right? Trying to think who else. Petey Mueller, again, I know I spoke about him earlier. Jordan Smith has multiple years of experience under his belt. So, I mean, we're leaning on all of them. The nice thing is that a lot of those guys have pitching experience, and, I mean, that's huge for us, especially in SWC.
What other type of benefit is it to have 9 seniors on your baseball team? I mean, that they can kind of coach themselves, right?
Yeah, they can. You know, they're like brothers, so, I mean, they've been around each other, you know, in the program the last 4 years. A lot of them played with each other growing up. So it's kind of cool to see them, you know, all stick it out. You know, obviously when we started, when they were freshmen, there was like 15 or 16, you know, other kids go out and do, you know, different sports, whether it's track or, you know, want to focus on basketball or something like that. So to see these 9 guys together, it's pretty cool. You know, they do a really good job of, like, taking ownership of the team and doing what needs to be done to make sure we're successful. So.
You mentioned David Ward, him going to Akron. Yeah. I've seen him play basketball, haven't seen him play baseball yet. Hope to change that this spring.
Absolutely.
What are some, outside of being very lengthy, what are some things that make him as good as he is?
With David, I mean, he came on strong last year. I know his stats didn't really show it. I mean, we didn't have a lot of run support for him last year, but, I mean, he has absolute command of his fastball, and, I mean, once he's, you know, dialing that up, I mean, he's an upper 80s guy with good secondary pitches. I mean, he threw a live bullpen today with our hitters and stuff like that and was keeping them off balance with off-speed pitches, whether it's his curveball, changeup. He's working on a 2-seam. I mean, he's an incredible kid that, I mean, he works at it nonstop, too. So he is definitely bought in, and he's ready to take that next step in the next level.
2-seamer. I can't believe this is the first time this has come up on the show. I mean, obviously in high school, you don't see many sliders thrown. Just a little bit too dangerous. Seems like that 2-seamer has kind of taken over. And why not, right? It's a lot less dangerous than trying to throw a slider.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
That 2-seamer could do some dancing if you put it in the right spot.
Absolutely. I mean, especially when you have, you know, I feel like the right-handers dominate the batter's box and stuff like that. So if you're able to throw that 2-seamer efficiently on their hands and stuff like that, especially with Dave's velo, I mean, it's something special. And then he'll come back with, you know, a changeup, again, same arm delivery, keeps the hitters off balance and stuff like that. So, I mean, he has really worked at this, you know, all off season. So hats off to him.
Is he going to be a pitcher at the next stage?
Yeah,
okay.
So he will be a pitcher over at Akron. So.
And to watch him play basketball this year was just amazing. And, you know, the jumps that he has getting out of the gym. Who are some other guys that might step up, maybe younger, that you might expect to have a bigger role?
Yeah, so last year, first one that comes to mind is Caden Vogelpool. He's going to be a sophomore this year. He got varsity time last year as a freshman. You want to talk about a weight room warrior, it is that kid 100%. His vert's up to like a 35. He's put on like 25 pounds of just straight muscle. So our athletic trainer, Cody, over at Midview, has done a phenomenal job with him. So he's one that comes to mind. We have some younger pitchers that we're going to try and, work in there so they can get experience and stuff like that. Cody Martin's a big lefty for us that he's a junior and stuff like that. Trying to think. We do have a handful, but, those are the two that come to mind. We are very fortunate that we have 9 seniors, but, we do have some guys coming up behind that are going to do some damage as well. So,
you mentioned Albert will be joining you guys after that
Yes.
season-ending injury last year. How does he factor into the mix?
So right now he's still in his rehab process and stuff like that. He's throwing light pens. My thing is he has a college-level arm. Obviously, with the injury last year, it kind of, took a step back from things. So we're going to slowly integrate him and stuff like that. Ideally, I'd love to get, Ethan starting games for me and stuff like that. But realistically, we're going to take it slow because I do think he can play at the next level. So he'll come out of the bullpen to start off. He is, probably planning on starting at second base for us and stuff like that. He has a big bat as well. So he'll be used in multiple facets. But overall, I'm really excited to have him back in our rotation.
He plays second base for you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my Lord. He's a good 6'5", isn't he?
He is a very, very good 6'5".
I don't think I've ever seen a 6'5" second baseman. That's incredible.
Come over to Grafton and you will. So.
Wow. Okay, so, how long do you think it's going to take for him to kind of build up his arm strength? Because, we've talked this whole show about how tough it can be because you never really know when you're going to play. About how long do you think it's going to take for him to build that arm strength up to the point where maybe he could get himself into that rotation? Do you think maybe like late April?
Yeah, realistically, we're taking a Myrtle trip this year, so we'll, he'll be utilized down there as far as a relief pitcher and stuff like that. So I would probably say mid to late April is where we'd probably see him in the starting rotation and stuff like that. Behind David Moore and Spencer Mueller, so it'll be a good time.
Man, I'm jealous. Going down to Myrtle Beach.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to go down there with my golf clubs and just have a ball. But, of course, you're going down there to work, so it's totally different.
Yes.
Tell us about that Myrtle trip.
This is our second time doing it here at Midview since I've taken over. We went 2 years ago, but we're playing in, it used to be called the Mingo Bay Classic, but now it's the South Atlantic Bank Invitational. I don't want to misquote that, but no, it's phenomenal. There's over 100 teams in this for the week. They used to do 2 weeks. It's down to 1. But we get to play kids from Virginia, from New York. We actually played Myrtle Beach High School our last game at 7 under the lights. So it'll be pretty cool. Just playing at different parks. The fields down there are phenomenal. They're able to maintain them all year. So it's a really special time for these kids. A lot of guys, this is something that I did at Elyria when I was under Ed Piazza. We would go down to Myrtle. And anytime you talk to any of our former kids, it's always, I remember the Myrtle trip. I remember doing this. It was so cool. So it's an experience for them, and it's something I look forward to anytime we can do it. So,
what are the expectations for this Midi team this year?
I think we underperformed last year personally. Every year you want to go in thinking, hey, we're going to win conference and stuff like that. So our number one goal is obviously to win conference. So I think with our pitching staff, I think we have one of the best pitching staffs in the county with what we have returning and stuff like that. So I think doing that and then some timely hitting and stuff like that, we may have to play small ball against some teams. But I think overall, I think we should have a very successful year. I'm looking, anywhere between 15 and 20 wins. So I think it'll be a pretty special year.
Yeah, that would be a real special, no question about that. But with 9 seniors, that's got to be the expectation, right?
Yes.
It's not very often you get a class with 9 seniors. And not just 9 seniors, but it sounds like you've got 9 guys who are going to consistently contribute as well.
Absolutely. Out of the 9 guys, I'm looking around. I think they're in almost every spot except 1 or 2 right now. So obviously, we have the scrimmages coming up, so we'll be able to evaluate how these guys are performing in the games and stuff like that, and then make our final decisions. But no, we're very fortunate to have these guys that are going to be able to contribute throughout the year.
Head coach Ryan Morgan joining us from the Midview Middies. Coach, thanks so much for stopping on by. I hope you enjoyed this Midi Burger.
Absolutely,
and we look forward to talking to you guys again.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Head coach of the Midview Middies, Ryan Morgan, giving us some time, and we're going to get our last guy on. We saved the best for last, as it's the LC8 champion.
That's right. He beat the buzzer, man.
Firelands
He beat
Falcons.
the buzzer. This is a baseball coach right here, man. He's got his turf shoes on. He's got his baseball pants on. He's got the BP top on. That's a baseball coach right there, man. You could have spotted him a mile away.
Right.
It's a matter when he walked in, they didn't even have to tell him where to go. He knew. They just knew.
Okay. Head coach of the Firelands Falcons, Dan Ransom, joining us. Coach, thanks for joining us. How's everything going so far?
Good. We're, our guys are working hard, and we're still in the gym quite a bit. Get out when we can. I think that we've been on our field once and out in the grass and other stuff 3 times. Oof. So, we're inside, which is not terrible. It could be worse, but still, once you get outside, you want to stay outside.
What are you working on inside to kind of keep them occupied?
We're just doing all kinds of drills with our infield. We usually split up infield, outfielders, and so we go outfielders. We'll do a bunch of drills for defense, and then our offense our infield will hit, and then we'll switch and do whatever in there. Get our pitchers throwing some bullpens. So we have a decent sized facility, but it's not the best.
Who are some of the guys you're going to be relying on heavy this year?
We only graduated 3 guys last year, and so we got 7. We got 7 seniors, and I think 6 of those were starters last year. So the seniors this year will. I'm sorry. The seniors this year will be relied upon heavily, but they've got a lot of experience because they've been, they were with us as freshmen when we went through the regionals, and so they were around. A couple of them got some playing time at that venture, and we're just kind of we've got a bunch of athletes that we need to play baseball.
Good problem to have, I suppose,
right?
Well, look, the last year was a great year. You guys had the Player of the Year, 13 wins in conference. You went 13-1, if I'm not mistaken. It was that first week in May. You guys took down Black River to cinch that. I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned from that. You talked about how you lost 3 guys from last year. One, of course, a key contributor. But what do you think this incoming group of seniors learned from all that valuable experience?
Yeah, well, that was great that we were 13-1 in conference, but we were overall 13-12. So we didn't play real well outside of our conference. So we need some guys to really step up, and like I said, be baseball players. We've got a lot of athletes that have played multiple sports over there, and we need some guys to step up and be baseball players. And if we can do that, we'll be all right. If we don't, then we'll be back to the same 500.
We talked about making the regional a few years ago. A few years before that, you guys were over at Bowling Green playing in the regional there as well. So it just seems like with your program, that's the expectation. That's where you guys think you should be every single year. And I think the mentality of that program is something that almost every kid seems to buy into pretty quickly, don't they?
Yeah, it's definitely, our goal is to be there every year. I've been fortunate enough to this point to have a lot of guys that played a lot of travel ball in the summer and high-level travel ball. Gone through a little bit of spurt where guys aren't playing baseball at all in the summer, so they're just kind of, guys are playing basketball all summer, guys are going to football practices, and now I'm getting back into, I think my freshmen, I've got 9 freshmen, I think, and 8 of them play high-level travel ball. So that's what's helped me, I think, is that these guys are going and working out all winter and playing all summer at a high level. That really turns into a lot of good, positive things for us.
What do you think the strength's going to be of your team this year?
It's funny. They said, what's the key to winning? For the papers, and I said we need to score more runs than the opponent. It's pretty much it.
Outscore your opponent.
Yeah, we've looked good in the cage. We've looked good on our bullpens. So if we can, come out and hit against live pitching and throw strikes against some live batters, then we'll be all right, I think. If we don't, then we're going to struggle.
Who are some of the kids that you might want to single out that have gone above and beyond in the offseason playing those summer league games and have kind of taken to that and applied that to hitting in the cage and look better in the cage for you guys?
Yeah, well, you know what? They've all gotten back to the point where they're swinging well in the cage. It's mostly our young freshman guys that are coming in that are all playing high level. We don't have too many sophomores that are playing high level. We have a couple, or we have like one that plays high level, and then junior class is pretty small, and some of those guys play in the summer, but it's not a high level. So we're kind of waiting for those freshmen to come and season up and be able to help us out quite a bit down the road.
But even playing in the summer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because you learn some things when you play in the summer. I think also playing 4 or 5 days a week, whatever it is.
For sure.
I mean, it just goes a long ways. I mean,
absolutely. I tell these kids all the time, you can't put the glove down in May or beginning of June and expect to pick it up in February and be the same. I don't. I agree that any form of playing is better than none. A lot of guys are playing, hot stove and things like that. We've put together some summer games for, just some pickup games with some other high schools. I think we played about 8 games that way. And, that was just something I had to do in order to get those kids to play a little extra. And it goes a long way. It really does.
You mentioned earlier you've got some athletes, and you're trying to get them to play better baseball. Do you find there's more of that on the position player side, or is there more of that on the pitching side of things, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination because the pitching side of it, we have some experience and have played, high level and have helped out with their summer teams and played a lot of games. And then we have, the position-wise that we don't really have that. So it's kind of a combination of both.
You taking any trips this year?
We are only going to Chillicothe for an overnight. We have the problem is that I don't teach at Firelands.
Okay.
So I've been there for 9 years, and my boys have gone there. I graduated the last one, and wouldn't you believe this is the first time in 9 years that we actually line up with Lorain and Firelands spring break. So the one time that we could actually take a trip, it just didn't form.
Yeah. So talk about your kids. How are they doing at the next level?
My 3 boys are all back coaching with me.
Awesome.
So my oldest Colin has been with me for a couple years. Kyle went to Lake Erie and was with their baseball program last year and decided the schooling part wasn't for him. So he's working for a general contractor. And my youngest just decided, I think he decided as a junior he wasn't going to play anymore. And so he's going through, journeyman school for electrician.
How does that make you feel as a dad? That's pretty cool to have your kids all of your kids come back with you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Those guys, them being around and the experience that they have, I can just let them go and do things, that I can trust that they're doing them the right way.
And they're young enough to where the kids will still listen, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, sometimes the kids, they're sometimes too close of an age.
Right.
And so I got to put some kids in a place, or whatever. But it's really special to be able to have those guys all come through the program and play for me, and now coming back coaching for me. My grounds crew guy, I talked to him the other day, and I texted him and said, hey, we're going to be outside or whatever. He goes, I don't work there anymore. I heard there was going to be 4 ransoms coming, so I quit.
Wow.
So, yeah, because he worked with my my two younger boys worked summer jobs over for Firelands when we were moving from South Amherst over to the new building. And we just have a really good relationship with Dan Jackson over there. It was funny.
Shout out, Dan.
Yeah.
Well, what a way to go out, man. I mean, your youngest son goes out, in a blaze of glory. Player of the year, he got to play at the showcase down at Ohio State, too.
Yeah.
And what a way to go out. But also, it's got to be cool for you, too, not only to have your sons as a part of that coaching staff, but also to have guys who have had a lot of success in the program, too. And I would imagine that goes a long ways in helping you delivering your message to the kids.
My assistants are great. I've got those 3 who have a lot of experience. The 2 other ones that I have played on my 2021 regional team that are come back and are coaching with me, Tyler Ruth and Evan Zeider. I got Cole Skolaric, who was with me my first year and was Super Bowl player. I just, at the time I was kind of easing back into it, probably could have gotten him more props. knew he wasn't going to go on to play baseball, but he's an awesome coach. Steve Sunigal is back with me. Is with me. It's kind of funny. He coached me when I was a freshman in high school, and I pull up the picture of that team, and he's right behind me. I've got a lot of hair. He's got a little black mustache. Now it's all changed. And then I got another guy that volunteers, Darren Wiswell, that has played a lot of high level baseball, and we just all have our own little niche that we kind of go after the kids, and some of us kind of overlap and just kind of oversee things, and we always just I'm not that kind of guy that just is going to go my way or nothing. I'm going to listen to everybody's opinion, then I'll make the best choice, which is usually my way anyways.
Head coach Dan Ransom joining us from Firelands. Coach, thanks so much for giving us some time. Yeah. We appreciate you making the trip out here. Good luck this season, man, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for everything you guys do, man. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Dan Ransom, head coach of the Firelands Falcons, as we get ready to wrap things up here from Smitty's Place in Elyria. We want to thank our good friends, Brentwood Golf Club. Remember, you can book online and save at playbrentwood.com. Titan Tax, remember, they're the home of the $100 e-file. Call Titan Tax at 440-282-4800. Network Land Title Agency. Judith Glennon staff are safeguarding your investment and ensuring a peace of mind. Visit networklandandtitle.com. Legacy Home Finance, saving you time and money during the home buying process. You can visit Jay Sloan at legacyhomefinance.com. I want to say thank you to Stephanie Forthover, owner here at Smitty's Place. We'll be back tomorrow for the softball coaches preview show, bright and early, right at 6 o'clock p.m. For Bull, for my man Eddie, and also Sprouse back at the Radio Ranch. I want to say thanks for keeping us live and legal all night long. I'm Dave Rivera. I'll catch you guys again tomorrow from Smitty's. Good night.